joining us on Saturday Afternoon Sport. I'm Karen Ty. First up this afternoon, round 2 SANFL. This week, Central District take on the Eagles. Both teams won their games last week, so who will have the upper hand today? At Woodville Oval, it's a very good afternoon to your host, Neville Roberts.
Yes, thanks Karen, and welcome to Woodville Oval here in Adelaide. Our live game today, as Karen said, between Central District and the Eagles. It is a glorious day here in Adelaide, and we're expecting a mighty clash. And just have a look at the weather here in sunny Adelaide. Perfect one day, almost miracle weather the next here. We've had a beautiful opener to rounds 1 and 2 here in South Australia. The Dogs successful over Nord last week. They go into round 2 victors, as do the Eagles. And they had a win here at home last week over North Adelaide. David Mackay joins me on the boundary line, and you've got a little bit of bias here, David.
Yep.
Being an Eagles supporter.
With me down on the boundary line. Sorry, Jeff, we were just setting up down here. Great year for the club last year, $129,000 profit. You must be very pleased.
Oh yes, since the amalgamation there's no doubt the club's consolidated very strongly off the field in particular, and has been able to establish a strong financial base, and hopefully it's going to continue for years to come.
It's fair to say though that you've lost enormous numbers of players. I suppose the preeminent club in the competition in the last 2 years, you won the flag in '93, you were second last year. You've lost so many players to the AFL, it must be very difficult to replace them.
Well, that's what we've got to live with nowadays. If you go back over the last 3 years in particular, I think we can field a pretty good side when you take what we've lost, going back to the Primkeys and the Bullises and the Tapes and the Camporellis and the Kennedys. The list just goes on, and I think we can nearly field a side of players still currently in the AFL competition, and that's something we've had to live with, and fortunately we've been able to replace, and we keep bringing especially the youngsters through. You can see from the reserves today that I think the average age is about 20 out there, and that's what we're here for, and that's what we're prepared to do.
Well, I think looking at through your recruits, though, you've recruited very well. The quality of the recruits, you look through players like Sam Jones from St Kilda, Hayden Robbins from Richmond, Graham Woods, who had a stint with Fitzroy, and Gavin Colville, the former Geelong Falcon boy. They're all playing today, but you've got a couple others still in the reserves.
Oh yes, there's a young lad from Claremont in Glenn Simons who Darryl Panizza, a former player, put us onto. Another lad, Nigel Brown, who actually played in the seniors last week, also from the Geelong Falcons. But again, you look at the age of these guys, they're only 18 to 20, and we've got a coach who would rather have someone of that age and develop them into a system than someone that's established as maybe a senior footballer that he can bring into the club and bring into our ways, and we've found that to be pretty successful over the years.
One player we should mention too, Stuart Totham, who's recovering from a knee reconstruction. He did his knee here against Port Adelaide last year. He's well on the road to recovery.
Yes, he's only a couple of weeks away. As you know, you just interviewed him at lunch, at the President's lunch, and 2 weeks hopefully you'll see Stewie back on the track, and he does virtually become a recruit, and after a very good start last year, hopefully we'll see some real good footy out of him with the rest of the year.
I think a lot of people, including you, were surprised that Peter Schwarz, last year's skipper, didn't play on this year. He must leave a great hole.
There's no doubt of that. Again, going back to the lunch, we recognise Peter's retirement formally from the club today, and he'll actually be tossing the coin here very shortly. But he is a big hole to fill, but hopefully Peter will still be around the club and contribute to the club. He's given a lot to footy over the years, and hopefully it won't be lost. And yes, he will be difficult, but Andrew Rogers is a pretty handy replacement in a leadership role, and he's as he says, he's undefeated skipper after one game, so he's got a record intact that can't be beaten at the moment.
Jeff, one of the things I suppose you've got to recognise is that the SANFL need to expand their audience. You're allowing us live coverage of the games. It's your game today, it's a home game. How do you think it'll affect the gate?
It probably will have some effect, but that didn't concern us at all. When we were originally approached that the ABC were looking to do 2 games from the first round, we saw it more so from a football viewpoint, that it's going to give the opportunity for the local competition to be expanded into the country, and and the metropolitan area as well, but to give country people the opportunity to see state league footy, as we now call it, and it's still a very good standard. I don't think there's any doubt of that, and we had no hesitation in agreeing to a live coverage. we didn't see any effect on the gate at all, being any reason at all not to do it live.
Well, what about the Eagles' role? Now that we know Port Adelaide are going to the AFL, we already have the Crows in process. How do you see the Eagles' role in supporting two AFL clubs?
Well, that's probably one thing that's still to be resolved, as there's been a lot of talk of linking and that sort of thing with the two sides. Now, what will come out is yet to be determined, but, there's no doubt there's got to be support for the two sides, and otherwise, the criteria has got to be that the two AFL sides are the upper echelon, and we've got to be a feeder. As we've said before, the number we've put into the AFL just from this club alone over the last 3 years. We'll continue to do that, but at the same time we also can't lose focus that we also want to be successful, and we're after number one again this year, there's no doubt of that, after having foregone it last year.
Yeah, Jeff, I know you've got to go. Good luck this afternoon's matches. The Bulldogs haven't beaten the Eagles at all since the Eagles have been the Eagles.
That's exactly right, and I think, again, as you know, sitting with us at lunch, we had a little jibe with Kenny Russell, and we'll hopefully keep that intact today.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you, David.
Back to you, Rock.
Thanks very much, David. And the Eagles, David, 2 home matches. The program's been pretty kind to them early in the season.
Yes, I think, but that's one of the things, isn't it, about being a top side? The SANFL will recognise that by getting memberships up and allowing home games. They struggle late in the year, of course, remember, where they don't get many games here, but I think early in the season it's a reward for previous year's performance.
And your tip, David?
Well, it's an interesting one. I'm tipping the Eagles emotionally. I mean, I'm an Eagles supporter, let's not forget that. But I watched the Bulldogs last week. Their game plan was to block out... Sorry, I nearly got a kick. First one for 10 years, Rock. The ball came in. But I watched the Bulldogs last week and they were terrific against Norwood. I said to Alan Stewart after the game that it wasn't a pretty game, and he said, no, quite contrived. We didn't plan for it to be a pretty game. We moved players down the field, we clogged them up, we congested them, and I think that was a very good game plan against Norwood, because if their runners get going, they'll kill you. Now, the Eagles play a different style of game. They're much more physical, and I think today Centrals will need to combat that physicality.
Just quickly, David, they are a harder team, though, the Dogs, aren't they? I was really impressed with their desire to get to the footy and the way they tackled and their toughness with the body.
No doubt about that. I've already predicted that they'll be a top 3 side this year. My concern for the Eagles, of course, they've lost so many players. I just wonder how Bruce Winter can rebuild this side quickly. And if you had to look at the top sides, you'd have to say that Port would be amongst them, Central would be amongst them. Certainly Glenelg, on their form against Port Adelaide last Friday night, have stamped themselves as a club with authority. But the Eagles can never be ruled out. They've got a terrific tradition, even though it's only 5 years old. But when they're down, they're very hard to beat.
OK, thanks for that, David. Busy on the boundary line as usual. We'll talk to David later in the show as he joins us in our live commentary here at Woodville Oval. Well, last Friday night, or the Friday before last, I should say, Scotty Hodges went down, as did David Hutton, in some horrific injuries. And Scotty Hodges only had a hospital Wednesday last week. Mark Aston reports just on what's happening with Scotty Hodges.
Scott Hodges is a superstar in the local competition. He kicked 130 goals for the Magpies last year, helping the club to yet another premiership. But last Friday night, his football career was in ruins. The 26-year-old broke his ankle during the clash against Glenelg. Today, for the first time, Hodges relived the dreadful moment.
I was screaming for the stretcher. I was just about to hop off the ground myself. I was a bit worried. I thought I'd done an artery in my leg with the blood that was coming out.
After being treated in the change rooms, Hodges went to hospital for an operation. He had a plate and 8 pins inserted into his ankle, which will be in plaster for 8 weeks. Hodges is confident he'll be back with Port Adelaide before the end of this season. But if that's not possible, he wants to be fit for 1996 if the Magpies are invited to play in the AFL.
I still see 3 or 4 years of myself playing in AFL, and I want to be there next year with Port Adelaide. So I hope to have, a lot of things to do with the Port Adelaide Football Club in regards to our AFL entry in the forthcoming season, hopefully being 1996.
Hodges is just one pressing problem for the Magpies. The club also lost David Hutton last week and endured a humiliating loss. But as history shows, never underestimate the injured Magpie.
Oh, and that video of picture of Scotty Hodges going backwards on that leg of his was, and you could see him screaming in pain, and not a pretty sight for Scotty Hodges. Let's just hope that he takes the time, gets it right, because he's got a lot of football left in that body. Well, joining me on the boundary line again is David Mackay and Stephen Trigg looking... well, David's up here now. You're alone down there, Stephen, with glasses on. You said you looked like a rock star last week. You look more like it this week.
Well, last week it was a matter of being able to just see at the moment. If I take these little peepers off, I really can't see a thing at the moment, but I'm with you, Scotty Hodges. A lot of talk a little bit earlier about the fact that he wouldn't play at all for the rest of the season, but it was great news to hear during the week that there's every good chance that he might get back sort of somewhere before the finals.
Indeed, and you were with me last week at Elizabeth as we have this fantastic, almost discotheque sound here in the commentary position, but your thoughts on the Dogs as they met only 3 times last year. They've never beaten the Eagles. Obviously, they lost all 3 last year, David, and they joined third as the only club not to have beaten the Eagles since they were formed in '91.
Yeah, it's not a very good record if you're a Bulldog supporter. I think I heard most of that as the cheer girls are starting to get wound up out here. It's not a great record against the Eagles, and I'll ask Peter Schwarz at half-time if he's got any reason for that. My suspicion is simply that the Eagles, the merged side, has had too much stock over the last 4 years, and hence sides like Centrals have struggled. But I reckon that today's the day, Neville. I think that Central District are primed, I think they're ready for action, and I think that they can win this game.
Okay, look, not a very impressive record against the Eagles Central. As we said, they met 3 times last year. Let's have a look at some of those clashes.
Is there anything happening there, Neville? I can't hear a sausage at the moment.
And before the game, it's on here at Football Park. Kennedy's in there, Harada's in there, Taylor too. And they mean action here today for top spot this game. Come on, they say. If you want to do it, let's do it. This is Hugh Reimers. He's just backward of centre wing along that eastern boundary line. He pops it up high towards half forward. Oh, in front, doing it pretty well there was Ricky McGowan. One of the biggest possession getters. Shane Tongery, open goal. It'll be a magic start for the Dogs. You beauty.
Looks to have a bounce. I think wisely in the end decided not to because it probably wouldn't have come back. Goes to centre wing instead, only to David Green. In there late on the scene is Zilli, who'll get it back. Great piece of work. Going to look like Freeborn. Stephen Ziller inside and's got Taylor. By far the most positive piece of play from the Eagles so far. Now this will test the leg of Andrew Taylor. Oh, look at that, it's a thumping long kick right up to the line. I think he's got it. Kennedy. Hannum provides the run. Pops it up to the square. Hannum's found Neiman. Great mark. To half forward. Thorne gets it around the body. Just enough smother on that ball. Hannum it was who got it there at half back. Taylor off the ground there. A chance now. Morford finishes up with it from 25 metres and nails it. Gets it away to Schwert this way and that. Feigns it. Comes back to the head of the square. Watch for Reimers. He's going to be outnumbered, but takes a great one.
Freeborn in towards full forward. A charge. Taylor is by himself. Reverse puck. Goal! Oh, how did he get so much space by himself? He's kicked his third. A half volley. A fellow left footer in Hanley, and Richardson is good.
Good looking drop punch. Stevens drops in, needs it to come out the back. Reimers, more competition from the big man at centre half forward. If he can get it away to Girdham, he does. Girdham, Roger, you need a kick for goal, and he's got it. The Bulldogs are back.
As we've said, they've met twice. Round 3, 58 points to the Eagles round in the Foundation Cup. Camporelli, goal. Morford, clever to nickel. Over the top, inside, Camporelli again. He needs a bounce. Stephen Ziller, goal! Great footy, the Eagles. A charge, beautifully done. Kluzak, he runs into the open goal. He's got nickel, he might not need him, he doesn't. Oh, great piece of football by the Eagles. And the Dogs are in a bit of trouble here at Footy Park. Harada goes through strongly. Schwert gets it quickly over to McGowan, whose kick is good, in towards Girdham, in front. Tongery breaks through. He needs a goal as he charges in, reminiscent of the first quarter, but he's offline. Short, and don't know who that was towards, but Richardson's the player that ended up with it. Norton, Windsor. Freeborn's got him, and this is really what I was talking about earlier. They've made terribly hard work out of a pretty straightforward play. They've got a free kick, and Luxor Fortune just misplaced, and Nickel read that beautifully. His left foot kick towards Tobias, or Camporelli. That's Camporelli. Tobias was the player that knocked it to him. Oh, brilliantly done. Morford now. The players just loose everywhere for the Eagles down this flank, and that isn't good enough. Cold play on, puts it in high. Taylor from behind, easy. Easy as you like.
Competition from Girdham. They clean it up with Freeborn, Tobias, the run of Thorne. The overlap is very, very good, but they break down at half forward this time as Abbott takes it, gives off to the runner Hereda. There are a few dogs off their leash now. Schwert's one of them. Wheels around, then comes inside. He's put a few players off the line, though. In he comes and finds a player in Windsor.
Boy, this is Devine. The left footer plays on quickly. He wants Kluzak. He's got him on a lead. Tongaree late to the scene. He's at half forward, Kluzak. Chip is short, and the loose player is Pesh, all by himself. 40 metres out from goal. He'll kick right on 50, I'd imagine. And he comes. Not a bad kick, is it? I think he's done it too. Beautiful kick. His first goal. And if it wasn't sealed, absolutely seals it for the Eagles.
Yes, and the Eagles, a great team last year, far too good for Central District on 3 occasions, and generally too good for most other teams. But as we know, they blew it in the grand final, or more, I should say, Port Adelaide took it. And as I said earlier, maybe hopping mad. Bruce Winter, he's a coach really for all seasons. He's in his 3rd year. He's won 3 flags, 2 night flags, 1 day flag. He's played in every possible grand final. And you couldn't ask for any more than that since taking over from Neil Baum, who went to Melbourne. He's coached seconds football. David Mackay caught up with the former Red Leg and Sturt campaigner during the week.
Bruce, it must have been very difficult after last year's grand final defeat. You went in roaring favourites in the grand final. Port Adelaide got up and won the flag. It must have been terribly disappointing.
Oh, it certainly was, particularly when we played so well during the minor round. We'd had a good second semi-final to get us there, and yeah, it was disappointing.
Well, I suppose you've had to swallow that disappointment and get into pre-season training. Are you happy with what you've done over the summer?
Oh yeah, we've lost a lot of players, both the AFL retirements to local clubs, so we're down a little bit in numbers compared to say last year, but the effort that's been put in by the blokes we've got on the track has been good.
It's not so much that you've lost players, you've lost key players. When you look through the people that you've lost, Sam Philippo was dominant centre half forward, Freeborn's a loss. I mean, Stephen Zilla's loss alone would be a very big one to overcome it. And then you cover people like Lawrence Shackey, Simon Neve, Scott Camporelli's gone to Carlton, Peter Schwartz, your skipper, retired. There's some big losses.
Oh yeah, but you just got to accept those sorts of things. I think one of the things that the draft is going to do, I mean, it's been set up to even the competition in the AFL, and I think what it'll do, it'll also even the competition up here, because the stronger sides will lose their best players, and that's certainly been the case with us in the last 2 years. Norwood have had the same situation, Port Adelaide have had the same situation, so I think what it's going to do is, over time, it'll even our competition up. Maybe it'll make our competition even better.
Well, you've had a few weeks now to look at the new recruits. Gavin Colville has won, Sam Jones, Nigel Browning, Graham Woods and Glenn Simmons. Is one of those a superstar in the making?
Well, time will tell. Actually, there is another one in there called Hayden Robbins, who is in a different situation where we fly him in on Thursdays to train and plays with us on Saturday. So he's a little bit like a Crows player. To date, he's probably been the pick of our recruits.
And you've got a new skipper, Andrew Rogers, replaces Peter Schwartz as the club captain.
Yeah, we had 3 blokes that would have been good captains, Rogers, Payes, Taylor, but I put it to the players who their preferred choice was, and Andrew Rogers was the favourite, so we nominated him to the board, and the board accepted that decision. So he was captain, and I felt it was a little bit unfair for the other 2 to miss out, given the fact that they give us an enormous amount both on field and off field. And we made co-vice captains this year. I mean, if the American basketball team and the '88 Olympics can have 2 captains, I think we can have 2 vice captains.
Now tell us, Central District's this week's game, they haven't beaten the Eagles since the Eagles amalgamated. You've got a terrific record against them.
Well, that's true. Hopefully the bubble won't burst this Saturday. We played them in a trial a couple of weeks ago, and till half-time it was a pretty even sort of affair, fairly rugged sort of game. In that game, because of the heat, I did take a lot of players off, and we were overrun in the second half. But yeah, I think Saturday's game will be a typical Central's Eagles physical type clash.
And Bruce, just quickly, have you got the team this year to play in your 3rd grand final in a row?
If we don't get any injuries, we have. If we have say injuries like we had in '93, where we hardly had any, I think we have. If we have injury problems like we had last year, then it could be a bit of a struggle.
Yes, Bruce Winter, been in every possible grand final. Not a bad start, 3rd year of coach. Let's go back to the boundary line. I've got Stephen Trigg and Michael Ace down there. They've got sunglasses on and plenty of makeup. Still doesn't do you much good though, Acey?
You've never seen 2 good-looking blokes as us. I'll tell you what, Neville.
I won't take that any further. Stephen, I saw the Port Adelaide ad this morning. You've been working on your club song for the Maggies, have you?
I beg your pardon?
There was an ad in the paper this morning, Port Adelaide, looking for club song, logos, colours. Thought you might want to put in an entry.
I just reckon I should go with that question mark that's on the front of the Guernsey and be done with it. It's in black and white, so just leave the question mark there. Looks good to me.
Happy with that. Well, Michael, let's have a look at the lineup firstly for the Eagles. Your thoughts of them so far?
Well, Neville, obviously they're a fantastic side, and Bruce Winder has all the success in the world, and when you really look at their side, their on-ballers again are really going to play a major part, and across centre, when you really look at in the centre there, Wiedemann in particular, coming back from the Crows, will be a focal point for them. Hannam and Pays also. Now, they can get plenty of drive and nullify the Central District's centre line, they will go a long way to winning it. But you look all over their ground, their key points are really Neiman at centre-half forward, also Taylor at full forward, and also Spear, Jason Spear, a very underrated fullback, has to do a job on Ingerson. Ingerson had a bad game last week, well held by Miller. So if those guys can fire right down the middle, I think the Eagles will just get up.
Okay, look, it isn't a bad lineup. Wiedemann in the centre, is that the best spot for him, quickly?
Without a doubt. We saw in the grand final in 1993 where he really was best on ground, and you know, he's got to be there. His body presence is what the Eagles need, and I think that if he can throw that around, he might unsettle them a bit.
Stephen, the Dogs?
Well, I like the Dogs today. As I mentioned a little earlier, I think that they are going to break through today and win for the first time. I like this side. I'm really looking forward to seeing Jim Wine play today. He's into the side in a forward pocket. He's a head down and tail up type, and he will complement people like Rick McGowan, Stephen Schwert, Roger Girdham and Craig Potter. They've got a great on-ball brigade at the moment, and I think that they're in good enough form watching them last week to build on that and go on and beat the Eagles for the very first time.
Okay, your tips quickly?
My thoughts quickly, my tip is with Centrals, and I'd go for about a 15 to 20 point win. We'll see how we go.
And Michael?
Yes, Neville. Well, my second side, the Bulldogs, they'll just get 7 to 10.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you a little bit later. We're all set to go here at Woodville Oval, our live clash between the Eagles and the Dogs. Your commentator is David Mackay.
Thank you, Neville. Thank you, fellas. Without the sunglasses, mind you, Daniel Cowell, umpire Tim Pfeiffer with the ball, the umpires this afternoon. The live clash from Woodville Oval. The Eagles take on the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs, as we've said 3 or 4 times, almost boring. The Eagles haven't been beaten by the Bulldogs yet. Could today be the day? At the centre bounce, Arnold from the left, opposed to Negri. No one could take that one. Big clash. Zilla tried to crash through. Then it was left to Healy, who hands off to Green. So the Bulldogs go into attack early, but Rogers, the skipper for the Eagles, bundles him off the ball. And if you think last week's game, if you tuned in against Norwood and the Bulldogs, was a little lacklustre, I can tell you, talking to both sides after the match, it was very, very tough on the field. And I suspect today will be something very similar. It won't be pretty football. You can watch for some good hard clashes in close. Pays had the kick smothered. It just ricochets out of the way. Wiedemann, welcome back to Weed, the former Crow player. Shunned by Crow selectors so far this year, back with the Eagles and playing in the number 11 Guernsey. That ball goes across the line and out of play. And there he is. What a tough, mean-looking sight. 28-year-old has only played 45 games for the Eagles, but what an impact he has made. Negri it was who won that tap. It comes down to Green. Now it ricochets out to Zilla. He'll do the hard work at the bottom of the pack. He picks up a free kick for being too high, said the umpire. The handball went off to Rogers. He played on quickly. The advantage allowed to flow. Now it ricochets out to Pesh. Back from the Crows. Gives it off. Number 3, Hayden Robbers, the new recruit from Richmond and Melbourne. Got the kick away. It didn't go too far. Zilla, did he give away a free kick? No. Look at the body clashes, if you don't mind. And that's a dead heat. There'll be a bounce.
Yeah, David.
Sorry, Michael. Welcome back. It's a bit of a tight run coming up the grandstand and jumping into your headsets, and we might just let you settle in and get that right. Negri thumps it down. That was Pays who got a quick kick away towards the boundary line, deep in the Eagles' pocket. Andrew Taylor, 15, comes streaming out. You'll notice that 9 for Centrals is Michael Wakelin, and he's got the job of curbing the brilliant Eagle forward this afternoon.
What magnificent weather here at Woodville Oval.
Bit croaky rock in the throat.
Oh, I've had been talking a lot today, David, and a lot about football. And
this is the new chum, by the way. We should just pull him out for the viewers at home. Jimmy Wine. Now, in the AFL, that's clearly a free kick, so Jimmy would know that. But I don't think he reckoned on this fella, Jason Zilla, applying such a strong tackle. And when you look at the players that the Eagles have lost to the AFL in recent seasons, including this fellow's brother, Stephen Zilla, to St Kilda, can't believe that they didn't take him across the border.
no, he's a real goer, isn't he? Gives 100%. He'll kick from 40. Puts it up high. Looks just a little left. I think he's made it. It's his home ground. Why wouldn't he want to kick a goal from the pocket? A great start for the Eagles.
Yes, Neville, and Jason Zilli, as a called it, David, a fantastic player for the Eagles Footy Club, and I was very, very much surprised that he didn't get picked up, and we saw him last year.
I think the question was his pace, Michael, wasn't it? The AFL clubs thought he was a bit lacking in pace, but can't you overcome that?
Well, you can if you read the ball as well as Diesel Williams.
Plenty slower than him playing in the AFL, I can guarantee you that. Romano Negri, we're almost 3 minutes in. The Eagles have got the first score on the board. Negri, thumped down by Arnold, loose ball, Tim Cook's there, over the top of it. Moving back was Morford, he handballs it back to Wiedemann, well worked out. And Newchum, Green for the Bulldogs, the former Swan and Carlton player, playing at half-back. This is Pyman, we liked his game last week. Gives it off to McGowan, the Bulldogs' best and fairest winner last year. And they nickname him the Podge, I wonder why. Stumpy little fellow goes to half-forward. Ingerson, the big fly from behind, couldn't bring it down. Loose ball, Daniel Healy crashing through. Oh, he did that pretty well. Now that was Hayden Robbins. He's impressed a couple of times already. Gives it off to Stevens, who goes towards goal. It's going to swing wide, or is it? Let's have a look. Oh, the umpire likes it. It's a goal, so score's locked away. 3.5 minutes into the first term, and the Bulldogs answer with a goal.
Well, Scott Stevens, a goal-kicking woman, and that's what clubs want. And he kicked a bag for last year, gets plenty of possessions along that centre line for the Bulldogs team. And as we have a look, that is a good 50-metre kick. That's gone straight through the middle to give Centrals their first.
So the score here at Woodville Oval, the Eagles and the Dogs are tied away on 1 goal each. Romano Negri from right of screen, Schwert quick hands, off quickly to Wind. Ingerson outplayed on that occasion. Beautifully done by Sheldrick. Again, Sheldrick wide. And the Eagles go back into attack. They did that pretty well. They've got a good running team, good skillful team, the Eagles. Morford, quick hands. Wiedemann, purposely to Pesh on the ground. And put it out in front of Haddon. Too far out in front of him. Good tackle, Taylor. The crowd want holding the ball. They won't get it. To ground, a good tackle on Walker. Finally, Green gets away the kick towards centre wing. Overrunning it, going too far was King. Recover by, he's close to the boundary line. Goes wide. And Tripp, no free kick on that occasion to Woods. Inside, beautiful work from Robbins to King, almost, and yes, Neiman. What a presence he has there, Michael, with his size.
Neiman, yes, took a great grab there. A little bit down on form in last year's grand final, but as we saw just a minute ago, you caught it right, or the crowd caught it holding the ball. And as I said last week, the umpires really do not reward the guy that puts the good tackle on.
Comment Michael Aish. I'd like you to be critical of umpires, Michael. Neiman from 40. Oh, it's a dream start for the Eagles. A good start for Neiman too. A real presence in that forward line. The Eagles with a 6-point break.
He's a goal-kicking forward, Michael, isn't he?
Well, David Neiman's got plenty of height about him, and he really has come on in the last 2 years. And as you said it, he's centre forward, so he's got to kick 4 or 5 per week, as a la Sam Filippo last year.
Well, I think he's capable of it. I don't think there's any doubt about that at all. Second in the best and fairest 2 years ago. Didn't figure last season. A poor year by his standards. And the Eagles lead by 6.6 minutes into the first term. Arnold and Negri dead heat that one. Couldn't give it to either player. And look at Wiedemann. I might just mention Wiedemann and Peter Green about 3 minutes or so ago were standing toe-to-toe on the far wing. So already Weed making his presence felt, and Peter Green didn't back off one bit. I like that.
He was the best player for the Eagles, in my opinion, first quarter last week, David. A good start in the SANFL career.
Oh, Peter Green for the Bulldogs?
Yeah.
Right.
Big start at Elizabeth, and it does take a long time. A bit of practical physiotherapy going on by the
Both Neville and Michael would know a bit about that. Work on the lower back. You both suffered those sorts of problems late in your career. The Eagles work on them pretty solidly as before players come on. That's Pesh, back from the Crows, working with Jimmy Wind. Now, why would Fitzroy give away a player like Jimmy Wind, for goodness sake?
A lot of players who just seem to be leaving the club, don't they? They've been wrecked by players just wanting to go elsewhere.
Well, my mail was that they just sliced the top 5 off their salary cap to survive financially. Well, You've got to have a serious look at your administration if that happens. Great mark back there, McGowan, on a half-back flank, running the wrong way. Showed tremendous courage. What can he do? He looks for Wind, punched away from that player. Now, Romano Negri tried to come in there. Solidly done. Getting the kick away from half-back. Was that Wakeland? Goes forward. Healy over the top of the ball. Now it comes to Stevens, feeds it off to Schwert. That's his go, the running player through midfield. Pushes it in long, wins us there. Coffey it was. Spear over the top of it. He's bundled on top of the ball. Gets clear, kicked away towards the boundary line. Dropping back and clearing it away. The Eagles defence did that pretty well in the finish. King finished up with the ball, but they sorted it out nicely.
Pretty aggressive work there, and that'll be a good contest. Coffey and Spear.
But he was unlucky not to get the free kick in the end. Sheldrick pushed it down. Players working pretty hard on the Eagles' half-back line.
One thing, David, that we didn't see, which a coach would be very happy to see, is Andrew Taylor from full forward actually ran nearly the length of the ground to back up one of his opponents and pick up Scott Stevens on the wing, who was clear.
Yeah, he was following Michael Wakeland down. I was having trouble picking up who it was who was playing in midfield with that kick, but it was Wakeland from full-back, and you're right. Taylor was right behind him. And that's one of the team disciplines that Bruce Winter has worked on. All forwards just stay with their men, even if they go right down to defence.
Well, he has a reputation as a player of being very critical of forwards who wouldn't chase their opponents out. And it does put a lot of pressure on the back man, or the back men and the centre line when players, forwards, do not chase their players out and keep the pressure on. We're on our forward line, or just forward of centre. For the Dogs, almost in the back of King on that occasion. Zilla puts it up high. Pesh against Green. No result. Neiman says, you take it, Wiedemann. Louis pushes it in long towards half forward. Beautifully read on that occasion. Out in front, Wakeland.
Now, I watched Wakeland play on Taylor in a practice match and kept Taylor to 4 goals. And Wakeland did a terrific job. The ball is wide. Romano Negri taps it back towards Page. Page read it beautifully, dumped to the ground. And it goes out of play. What a terrific tackle it was out there. Was that Green? Was. He got Pays, just bundled him up and made sure that that ball didn't go anywhere.
He's a veteran of 230-odd games. Pays, hasn't he had a distinguished career for the Eagles?
Well, he's played state football. He's played for the Crows. The Crows thought he lacked a little bit of pace and they sent him back to the Eagles, and the Eagles were very happy to have him back, I can tell you. There's Wakeland working it out again to Green, gives it off to Schwert. He will run all day. He will mesmerise midfielders. Ingerson, well down from half forward. The man up there is Sheldrick on Ingerson. Now this is Coffey at the back. He read it beautifully into the sun. Spear lost it, shielded his eyes, and Coffey just sat back.
Better start by Ingerson today, Michael.
Yes, that's what he'd be looking for, and Coach Stewart also. And I don't think Spear would have been all that happy with the decision. Bit soft.
So Grant Coffey, who kicked 4 goals last week, a fine display in ruck and full forward for the Bulldogs, lines them up 48 metres out. It's a beautifully long kick right on the line. I think it might have hit the post. It has. So one behind to Coffey, and the Bulldogs go to 1-1-7, trailing the Eagles 2 straight goals.
Good performance last week. 4 or 5 goals, Michael, after starting in the back line.
He did, and it can do anything, as we saw last year. And we mentioned last year, really had a very poor year. Looked like he wasn't going to do much in the seniors whatsoever.
Well, just having a look at what he played, I think he played somewhere in the order, Coffey, here he is, of 14 games in the reserves, if you don't mind.
Spear to Pays. They've got possession out of the back lines towards centre wing. Good running play by the Dogs through the centre. Or quick hands on that occasion by Cook, Swert, and Spear out in front of Coffey on this occasion. Reads it well, pushes it down. Opportunity for Wynn around the body.
That was Woodsrock, the new recruit, gives it off to another one, Hayden Robbins. So the recruits are figuring prominently.
The veteran Pays from his wing, puts it into half forward. Watch for Taylor, goes for the round arm, misses the ball completely. On the ground, Casserly. Opportunity on that occasion. Arnold off the ground, Swert. Intelligent play by the veteran. Not sure whether to complete the last 30 metres, but Stephen Swert. In your screen there is Jason Zilla.
I tell you what, last year Nev was a little bit critical of Andrew Taylor when it didn't mark it and the ball went to ground. He didn't chase and do the hard work, but this year's been very good.
Well, let me say he played most of last year unfit. He had injury problems and played on. He still got 82 goals, but this year he's done a full pre-season. He's very fit, and you won't see the Eagles nursing him. He'll be demanded to chase, which he's done. I think they let him off last year because they knew he was just fronting up each week under severe difficulty.
What odds here, Michael? You back him?
Romy Negri. Nope.
In he comes. Has he got the biggest reputation for kicking long goals as our Romy. Off hands, Harada. He got it from McGowan. And the ball is out of bounds.
Michael, looking at the matchups, Harada's got Neiman, Wakeland's got Taylor. A couple of good battles there.
Well, there's got good battles all over the ground today. And very interesting to see the Bulldogs when the opposition goes forward and they really don't take it cleanly, the Bulldogs capitalise and run it out extremely well.
Coffey on Spear, of course, at the other end of the field, and Ingerson and Sheldrick. So the big man battles.
Cloud over Roger Girdham during the week, David.
Calf injury. I saw him wheeling his baby Emma in with his wife pre-match, and
lovely.
The Central District girls are up on the mound enjoying the sunshine today with their children, and he said not a problem at all. And his wife was talking to Chris Grant about how she was going to get the bloodstains out of his shorts from last week's match.
Okay, that community report from David Mackay. More of that later. The Eagles work it out.
It's a bit that way, Rock, isn't it? It's sort of, it's a bit like country football.
Yeah, the picnic.
That's the one. Wind, a good kick. Beautifully put to Ingerson. It's good information. The women certainly a big part of your football career, and recognised more for it now than they ever were. Opportunity now for the Dogs. Beautifully done. Cook has a look at them and can't manage to steer it anywhere near straight enough, so the Eagles, they lead by 4 points.
And Tim Cook, very elusive across the half-forward line, probably a little bit underrated as well.
Number 6 on the ball normally as a rover, resting the forward pocket, half forward. Spear with the ball. Kicks to the 50. Negri front position. Beautifully judged by Stevens, but couldn't put it away. Too high on McGowan. Against Hannum. McGowan. Oh, it's beautifully put, isn't it? The lead is good, and the Dogs control the footy. Blind. Short is good. Coffey put it down and Spear got the crumb. He kicks it back to 50. Action replay. Arnold and Negri to ground. McGowan to Girdham. A bit of chance, Girdham, as he puts it back into the pocket. Oh, opportunity. Free kick surely to Swert, not paid. Ingerson, chip around the body. Weeds a bounce. He got a bounce all right. The worst bounce you could ever hope for.
Yes, the off break. Was it off break or leg break for a left footer?
Leg break, fellas.
Leg break.
On,
and David, one thing that really did impress me last week, I didn't think that Potter and Girdham were all that good compared to what they normally are, yet they came out by 3 or 4 goals.
Yes, I think that's the strength of the Bulldogs side, though. You can have 3 or 4 players perhaps not playing at optimum performance. I thought Schwert's game last week was not one of his better players, and still they won by 19 points, and I think, frankly, they could have won by more. This is Harada crashing through. I like this fella too, by the way. This is another one I like. Wiedemann, tough as you like, gives it off to Walker. The WA recruit feeds it off now to Hayden Robbins. Richmond and Melbourne, what have they taught him? 50 metres, he goes long. Great shepherd in the goal square. Terrific work back there, and it goes through for a goal. So the Eagles are pumped up and they get their 3rd goal.
Yes, it's the little things in football that win footy games. And Hayden Romans get his confidence up early.
Look, Michael, sorry, look at the shepherd by Sam Jones. Terrific shepherd, just made that goal.
Beautiful work in the full forward zone.
Well, that's what you have to do. You kick a few and you hand a few out.
So the teamwork working well for the Dogs. The Eagles now double the score of the Dogs at home. They won their first last week here against North, and the Dogs triumphed over the legs. Girdham, high, watch for Coffey. He's got the jump. Beautifully done Spear. Over the top of it was Wind. Sheldrick's in there, a chance for the Dogs. The Eagles desperate. They go to the blind side or defensive side of the pack. Spear beautifully done. Pesh King inside. They run it out. The Eagles, that time through Devine. Morfitt has a look. The kick is a shocker, but he's put it up in the air for Taylor. Up he goes! 2 grabs! Oh, he's not bad, is he?
Yeah, like that. He got off the ground. Big fly.
Well, he's got off the ground and he's just slightly nudged Wakeland out the way, and ever so little, and managed to take it.
He did it pretty well because he knew he had to go early to get rid of him.
Timing's everything.
It was. And plenty of experience. Former Brisbane Bear man.
Former Footscray player too, Rock, before that.
Big kick. And
he's had an interesting career, hasn't he? When you look at what he can do at this level of competition, had a poor year with injury, kicked 82 goals, and yet Footscray and the Brisbane Bears really just didn't find that he figured in their plans.
No, you don't. It's hard to work out why a player as athletic as he is didn't make it in any way that he should have. Maybe it was his attitude, and Wiedemann just hands one out. But I think Green was just playing it up a little bit.
Well, watch that all day, because they've already stood toe-to-toe on the wing. Green's going to give nothing away, and neither's the Weed, if you don't mind. Yeah, didn't even connect, just pushed him.
And the Weed, I think he's hit the post.
Fair kick.
It's a good kick, isn't it? Over 50 metres. So Wiedemann and Peter Green in a physical contest.
Here we go, we'll have a look here. Just a bit of a slap on the stomach, nothing in that.
Bit of Mylanta will fix that, Mick. 3-2, plays 3-1.
Short kick, and it could have come unstuck, but the umpire anticipated. Umpire Daniel Cowell. Now, we shouldn't be too critical. What's this, fellas? His third game, or his second, beg your pardon. We saw him Friday night against Glenelg Port, and he did a terrific job that night. This is Walker, hands it off to Pesh. Oh, sidestep beautifully, but he's claimed by Wakeland. Good pace, Wakeland. Hasn't he turned into a player?
And it's about time they paid a decision like that when the guy's got all the time in the world to get rid of it. Gets run down, they normally call it play on.
The ball from half-back, nicely delivered to Ingerson, but he was on the run. Really had to snap at that. Anthony Ingerson. And Central have the benefit of him at the moment. It might not be for the season. We're 19 minutes in. You're live on ABC. A live coverage here from Woodville Oval. Quick boot forward for the Dogs, over centre wing. The ground, and a free kick will go to Andrew Rogers.
New skipper.
Yes, and a bucket full of experience. Plenty of state football, AFL experience, and a good leader. Leads from the front. Morfitt backwards. Wiedemann played that pretty poorly, but too high. Michael.
He did everything except blow the whistle for the umpire then.
If you get a look at that, he did slightly grab him around the neck.
Short, and he didn't play that too well, the Weed. Jason King. Lucky to get away with it. Over half forward, Taylor interfered with from behind. Wakeland held him out, did it pretty well, goes backwards. Reimers chips it around the corner. Beautifully judged by King. On Stevens, wind in late. Schwert caught by Wiedemann, not pretty. Casserly interferes with the Eagles' attempts to get the footy. Beautifully done. They're good in close. The Dogs, they're improving every time I see them. Wind now, puts it up long. Ingerson high, or Coffey I should say. Late on the scene, Richardson on the ground. Coffey will go to help. They go to ground. Rogers, he needs help, and plenty of it. Play on's the call. They come in their numbers to help. Rogers gets to ground. Great single effort. Opportunity on that occasion for Robbins. Backwards Taylor. Spear. Few mistakes through pressure. The Eagles, Michael.
Well, they're making hard work of it, that's for sure.
No, I think the Bulldogs are making hard work of it for them. Look at the pressure that was applied by Bulldog players then. The Eagles were clear on 2 or 3 occasions, and the Bulldogs got players there so quickly it just brought the Eagles unstuck.
Good pressure around the corner. Cook, Ingerson, chance. He'll give it off, though. He does that pretty well. The kick is absolutely astray, and Green would be disappointed with that.
Disappointed is not the word, Neville. That's a walk-up start, really. He just didn't take his time, rushed the kick, and for an experienced player, you put them through.
Yes, well, he's played with the Sydney Swans. He's played with Carlton, mainly the Carlton reserves. He did have one senior game, but you can see now why he's recruited as a halfback flanker. He got near the goals and had plenty of space and just panicked, I think, in the finish. And a real forward just settles at that stage and drills it. Now, this is Spear, the very athletic Jason Spear, promising tennis player before he settled on football. It's a beautiful ball. Now, that kick has gone 70 metres. It's an outstanding kick. Over the top of it, crashing through, was Robbins. Hayes thumps it forward, into space he goes. He got clear so beautifully. Has time for a bounce, chips it back inboard. This is Jason Ziller, he's got space. Now the Eagles will centre it up, that's their game plan. To half forward it goes. Now all the forwards headed in that direction. Neiman, first man there, picks up the crumb and goes towards goal. Has he kicked it? It's wide. It's 1 point. 3 goals, 3 the Eagles, 1 goal for the Bulldogs.
Makes it look easy, the big fella.
He's performing pretty well at the moment, as he should, along with some of the other senior players, and that work by Pays, good vision, brought it back into the centre, but they just couldn't deliver it properly.
So the Eagles, they like to use the footy. And the Dogs now, they run it out through half-back. close to centre wing, but big Romy sits back, does it well. Rogers short, gives it to Devine. Now Wiedemann through the centre of the ground. Well, they're using him well.
Compliment for Mark Devine, isn't it? Giving him Peter Schwarz's old number 14.
Indeed, and firstly, it's amazing how the mind works, isn't it? You want to call Schwarz. Opportunity now. Oh! Jones, goal. How good was that?
That is a fair kick. Tell you what, he had all the time in the world. It'd be great to get a replay of that, where he seemed to be in a lot of trouble. Free kick probably should have been given. Let's have a look here. Taylor giving that away. Jumped in the back. Well, Tiggy touch. Let's have a look. There it is, going onto his left. Saw the opening and has drilled it.
Sort of distances you're able to kick during your playing career, Michael.
Now, fellas, I had letters during the week said you've got to knock that off. Concentrate on the footy, not the past. Sorry, has to be said. Eagles 4 goals 3. Central's 1 goal 4. We know you were greats, fellas. Now, Hayden Robins. Super. To half forward. Neiman with pace in front of Hereda. Hereda just nudged him off the ball. Pyman, who's the mop-up man in the Bulldog defence, mops up yet again.
Steady, isn't he, Pyman?
I liked him. You know, we saw him about 2 or 3 years ago and I thought he's a bit short, he's a bit slow, he's not big enough. But when you look at him, he's a lot like Kevin Sheedy. He's just always there.
In ruck, Romano Negri. Arnold takes front position. Big Rummy from behind. Can't do it. McGowan over the top is good. Castley back. Has the vision down the ground. Beautiful ball. Swirt. And again, Wind. He's had plenty of touches. 5 kicks, 6 handballs, and right in the play.
It's 11 possessions in 25 minutes. Well, he knows his way around a football field, and we've already said quite remarkable that Fitzroy would give him away.
Nearly to time on.
Probably did him a favour, David.
Probably did, given the... I think if you have a look at the AFL, the Fitzroy have really got to be the only easy beat in the competition over there this year. Ingus in front position. Opportunity for Robbins. Works hard to get his kick away. Morford didn't bounce well for him. Pays, was that a throw? Please yourself, that's a throw. McGowan, that's holding. Wiedemann, ball's in. And the umpire letting it go would be the only description.
Yeah, look, I've got to say, I don't disagree with that. I think while the grounds are firm and the weather fine, let it flow, let the players sort it out. Tiggy touchwood free kicks don't help anybody.
Okay. Couple of throws, get your head pulled off, not a problem, let it go.
All right. Hey, what's
Through the centre of the ground, Stevens and Hannum. Stevens having the better of that clash. He's in all sorts of trouble. He's been absolutely mauled by Eagles. Wiedemann punches it in beautifully. That's Weeds. 4th or 5th touch, straight to Neiman.
Well, the Eagles wondered how they were going to replace Sam Philippo at centre half forward. I think they know.
It's actually his 11th touch.
I can't count. I tell you what, though, that is just a boomer. Big kick, big goal. Neiman is second.
Well, Neiman, big, strong, athletic, and he's kicked too, as Neville's caught it. And the Eagles, well, they've started pretty well, but you never write the Bulldogs off. They've been persistent all year.
It's been their forte, hasn't it, the Bulldogs? They just scrap away at you. And Neiman gets his second. He was 5 metres in front of Hereda on that occasion at the bounce. The Eagles 5-3, the Bulldogs 1-4. The margin has blown out to 23 points. Loose ball midfield. Morford tries to thump it forward, but there was a push. It's a Bulldog free kick. I think Pyman might get it. Pays was the offender. Pyman looks to claim the kick. Or Healy says, no, it's mine. So perhaps Pays wasn't the offender. Healy, a left footer out wide. Ingerson on the lead, provided a focal point at least. There was nothing at midfield, but going wide here at Woodville Oval is not the answer.
And that's what he has to do. Centre forward, he's got to lead all day and give an option up there.
From the throw-in, Ingerson took front position. In doing so, picked himself up a free kick. He has that right elbow heavily strapped, Michael. Just a bit of soreness there. Played the advantage, and it's ended up with Coffey in the forward pocket.
Probably wielding that hammer on the building site.
Quite likely. Oh, Jimmy Wind, 45 metres out. The angle will be slight. Now, Jimmy's told us some porkies. We've got him listed as 30. He told me 28, but he did say it with a smile. 12 possessions. Pretty fair effort. Boom recruit for the Bulldogs. Let me say that, replacing Gavin Champlin, who retired. At the back, Rogers
Gets the handball away. It's stolen by Cook, given off to Stevens on the left boot. A hurried kick, and it's out of bounds. 5 metres around from the Bulldogs' goal mouth.
Yes, and Stevens, as we called it, wasn't in a position at all really to have a shot there. Should have just popped it to the head of the square, but very fine player.
Hannum is having trouble with Stevens. I think Stevens has been the dominant player on that wing so far. Crashing through, getting it out. Coffey, nicely done to Gurdon. Now that's what a forward does. He steadies, and that's what Gurdon did. He didn't hurry the kick, he just settled and drilled it through. The Bulldogs go to 2-4, the Eagles 5-3.
Yeah, the skipper gets his first, but that was absolutely great work by Coffey. Have a look at this. He's in trouble, just bounced over, saw Gurdon all by himself, and you'd like to get him like that every time.
Leads the margin out to 17 points, and Gurdon gets his first. Great leader for the Bulldogs. They've got a club full of character. One to the skipper. At the bounce. 17 points the margin. The Eagles have the advantage. We're 28.5 minutes into the first quarter. This match live on the ABC around South Australia, the regional areas, and the Northern Territory. This is Walker. A long ball over the top to Pays, running clear at half forward. He's 60 out, he'll drill it to the point of the square. Can it be shepherded through? Jones was trying to do it, but it was Reimers who thumped it forward. The crumb's picked up by Stephen Ziller. He gets it back now. Neiman pushed in the back, or was he? No, said the umpire. It's a throw in.
Yeah, great work by the Bulldog defence there. Pays having a shot from 60. Taylor just caught behind, and it's been run out of bounds.
The throw in. Romano Negri, the nominated ruckman, thumps it towards the points. He was trying just to get a point late in the quarter.
I don't know if he was trying to do that. He must have been trying to do that because there was no one there.
I think he thought that another point there would have put him 3 goals clear at quarter time. Would have been a handy point, mind you. This is Wiedemann thumping it down, gets it away, claimed by Robbins, and it just bounces through. So they get the point anyway. Wakeland concedes it, and it's 18 points as we go into 3-quarter time.
And there's a siren, and the Eagles started well. 5-4-34 are leading the Bulldogs 2-4-16. And some of the great guns for the Eagles side at the moment have been up forward, with Taylor providing for you, doing a lot of hard work, but also the Bulldogs too. Coffey doing a great job down there. Ingerson started well, but their on-ballers in particular, in Gurdon, Stevens and McGowan again doing a lot of great work up there.
So you think, Michael, that the midfield for the Bulldogs is doing the better?
I think they are, particularly in close. They're getting their hands to the ball. Their handballs is very good. The handball is very good to the running players. And interesting to note, Potter not really doing much at this stage.
No, I think you probably agree with that. I think Romano Negri dominating the ruck, but probably the Bulldog on ball is doing a fair better job.
Well, when you look at the height of the Bulldog side, you go through their players. Coffey, he's 6'1" or 2. You go down to
6'3".
6'3".
Yep.
You got Healy, he's up there too. You got Ingerson. You've got the ruck. Arnold. So they've got plenty of height, but they've got a very good balance. And they're tough, hard, they run on players. So
now Simon Lewis is still serving 1 match of his suspension.
So he'll be very good.
He will. So the Bulldogs well served with their big men. At quarter time here at Woodville Oval, it's the Eagles 5 goals for 34, leading Centrals 2 goals for 16.
And live back at Woodville Oval, our live coverage between today, Eagles and Central. Join us next week when we cover from Richmond Oval live, West Adelaide's clash with the Panthers. Now that's from 3:45 onwards, our live coverage of the last half of that game, and then we'll go into footy roundup. So over 2 hours of live TV on the ABC. Stephen Triggs at ground level. Not much separating the sides, Stephen, so far today, but probably a better organised centre-forward division, the Eagles.
Yes, and I think, as you called quite rightly through that first term, that the weed is cutting a path through that area. He's doing very well. Their on-ballers are doing well. Central at the moment just second to the footy. But as you quite rightly mentioned also during the call, Jim Wine, the further the quarter went, the better he got. My comments before the game were that he was going to compliment people like Schwert and Gurdon and McGowan. I also mentioned Craig Potter in that lot, and you will have noticed that he's not out there. He has a groin injury and never took to the field.
They look all right going forward. I mean, they have got the players there, haven't they, Stephen? I mean, Ingerson's up there. Swert and Stevens bring the ball in reasonably nicely to them, and they've got Coffey there as well, but so far not able to make the conversions.
No, Neville, I reckon that's their best option at the moment. They named Arnold at centre-half forward, but he lined up in the ruck, which is just the way to be. Ingerson was at centre-half forward and Coffey at full forward. It's the best option that they've got at the moment. When Simon Lewis gets back next week after serving his suspension for a small indiscretion in last year's finals with Port Adelaide's Darryl Poole, he'll line up at centre-half forward, and it gives Alan Stewart a whole lot more options.
So only 18 points separating the sides. Let's have a look at some highlights from the first quarter.
Ingerson, the big fly from behind, couldn't bring it down. Loose ball, Daniel Healy crashing through. Oh, he did that pretty well. Now that was Hayden Robbins. He's impressed a couple of times already. Gives it off to Stevens, who goes towards goal. It's going to swing wide, or is it? Let's have a look. Oh, the umpire likes it. It's a goal.
Goes wide and Tripp. No free kick on that occasion to Woods. Inside. Beautiful work from Robbins to King. Almost, and yes, Nemo. What a presence he has there, Michael, with his size.
Well, this is a Raider crashing through. I like this fella too, by the way. There's another one I like, Wiedemann, tough as you like, gives it off to Walker. The WA recruit feeds it off now to Hayden Robbins. Richmond and Melbourne, what have they taught him? 50 metres, he goes long. Great Shepherd in the goal square.
Just hands one out. But I think Green was just playing it up a little bit.
Well, watch that all day, because they've already stood toe-to-toe on the wing. Green's going to give nothing away.
Gives it to Devine. Now Wiedemann through the centre of the ground. Well, they're using him well.
Compliment for Mark Devine, isn't it? Giving him Peter Schwarz's old number 14.
Indeed, and firstly, it's amazing how the mind works, isn't it? You want to call Schwarz. Opportunity now. Oh! Jones. Goal. How good was that?
That is a fair kick.
There's some good pictures there from the first quarter here at Woodville Oval. The score is 5-4, plays 2-4, an 18-point margin in favour of the Eagles.
Goal scorers for the Eagles. Neiman led the way there with 2 goals. Did a fair job. Other goal scorers, Zilla got 1 and Sam Jones got the other 4 centrals. 1 goal to Girdham, 1 goal to Scotty Stevens to give them their 2 goals.
And having a look at the overall statistics, I would say that Eagles were not far in front on the kicks, and very similar. There's not going to be a lot in it after quarter time. It's been pretty close, but the hit-outs, that's where the Eagles are winning it, 13-6. So Romy Negri very decisive at the centre bounce.
Yes, we mentioned that as we summarised the first term. He's definitely had the better of Damien Arnold at the centre bounces. And we're underway with the second quarter with the Eagles leading by 18 points. The Bulldogs need to stem the tide. But I must say to you, whatever breeze there is here at Woodville Oval, perhaps a goal or 2 will now favour the Bulldogs in this term. Negri got it down to Zilla, last year's best and fairest winner. Gives it away to Neiman, who was pulled off the ball. A pack develops. Can we get it out? Finally, it ricochets clear. Out the back door is Pesh. Number 4, handballs it out to Negri. He threw it away, said the umpire Pfeiffer. King was just bounding away with it, but the umpire said it was a throw. It's a free kick to Peter Green. Midfield, he'll handball it off to Jimmy Wind. A high ball to half forward into space. Beautifully put for Ingerson, if you don't mind. Right in the hole, and Ingerson just ran straight into it.
Yeah, Shieldrick, not much chance to get that one.
So Ingerson, 60 metres out as he kicks for the distance. Not known for his length of kick. Lobs it in the square. Coffey from behind, thumbs it down. Richardson off the ground. Beautifully done. It's a point, though. I thought just for a split second he might have got a goal, but it was just too good to be true. It was a terrific piece of work. One of the best points you'll see, Michael.
Well, I tell you what, it wasn't bad, but he was the rover in the right spot, and being a very tall player, he certainly was unlucky.
Jason Spear, his kick out is good, normally is. Lucky to still have him, the Eagles. One of the better players in the local competition. Wiedemann gets up off the bottom of the pack, goes backwards, has support. Devine kicks the ball long underneath it. Big opportunity there for Robbins. Big jump from behind. Green, the kick is good. And finds Coffey, 40 metres out. And we've seen players, Jones and Neiman particularly, score from here.
Well, Coffey will not have any problems at all in getting this post high. And the way he's been kicking the pill at the moment, should drill it.
Plenty of skill.
Well, let's just mention, Rocky only kicked 6 goals for the whole season last year. He kicked 4 last week.
It started off half-back. The kick is lovely. Not a problem at all. Splits the centre. Kicks his first goal. Second goal, is it? His first. There's some indecision there. Certainly the Dogs' third, though.
Yes, and Peter Green running back on the left. No one within 10 metres of Coffey. So his direct opponent may have been backing up in spear. And Coffey, well, that's what you have to do to be a full forward. Just keep putting them through the 2 big ones.
He's done that pretty well. In fact, he's kicked 1-1. The other one hit the post at the far end. 5-4 plays 3-5. The margin now back to 11 points. Was 18 at quarter time. Arnold wins this one, so things starting to turn around for the Bulldogs. Over the top of it, getting a rear kick, Graham Woods. And this is Hayden Robbins, recruited from Melbourne via Richmond. Morata was held, play on the call. Zilla gave away the handball, but was taken away by Schwert. He concedes ground to McGowan, who goes short. Beautifully weighted kick. And Green claims it at centre wing, grandstand side. Brings it back midfield. Girdham nicely played to Hereda down from centre half back. They're running and attacking the Bulldogs. They look dangerous. Coffey from behind thumped the ball to ground. Roved his own thump, if you don't mind. Sells the dummy, snaps on the left, and he's kicked a goal. So Coffey gets his second, a terrific piece of athleticism. He worked his way from behind spear, captured his own crumb, sold the dummy and snapped on the left.
Turn a game, can't he? All by himself.
He's got the height, he's got the ability. As we see, Green, a dangerous kick quite often, but Girdham, very good hands. Hereda running down, and Coffey off the ground. Well, he'd be chock full of confidence at the moment.
He plays close to the ground for a big man, doesn't he? Sold the dummy, did all the work himself from the contest here in the air, off the ground, gets around a player. Good evasive work, 2 goals in a matter of seconds. So, Negri from the left, the Eagles are 5-4, the Dogs are 4-5. Only 5 points separates the 2 sides. Wiedemann with strength, has no assistance, that's holding the ball. Out of the centre go the Dogs. High towards Ingerson, too far for him. Girdham can't control it. Opportunity, Richardson. Rogers steady to spear. His kick is good, and standing his ground, doing it pretty well over there. There's number 40, Jason King. He's from halfback. Nearly towards centre wing. Negri, late on the scene. Spoils Hannum, and he says, Rummy, I had that. What are you doing?
All Rummy had to do was just call him in.
As Nord by 13 points at the Nord Oval. We're looking forward to that win after last week. Port by 31. They're out at Prospect against the Roosters. Stevens with his left boot. And the Panthers at Footy Park lead by 7 points. Wonder how Scholl's going today, the new boy. Spear. 14 is Devine. 40 is King. Now Zilla. So the defence stacks up pretty well. And so does Robbins, under pressure. Going backwards, takes a good solid marking. He's at centre wing. The options open up ahead of him. He takes the short one to Zilla. They run it over a line. Good work. Watch for Taylor. We saw him take a big one earlier in the piece. Hereda is it in front. Big grab. It's a doggy mark. And
Wakeland, I think it is.
Never look at that.
Well, we talked about his 2 more celebrated brothers now playing with St Kilda. But this fella has come on in leaps and bounds this year. His practice match form was exciting. Really killed them in that position. I just wonder whether it was an early season form, but he has carried it into the regular season. This is Cook. Gives off the handball. Healy. Back it goes to Stevens. Stevens comes back on the left, and Payes knew he was heading there, by the way. He only has 1 foot, and Payes was just waiting there for it.
Very clever work by Andrew Payes.
Good smother. Almost an unobtrusive stat smothering. Most clubs keep them now, and they can save a ball 100 metres if you win possession. Good work. King and Hannum out in front of Payes. He's putting under plenty of pressure though. The Dogs are in numbers. Zilla's late on the scene. Oh, that's good work finally by Pyman. And opportunity. Sheldrick caught, weaves and dodges, does it well for a big man. Wiedemann loses his footing, hanging on to the ball a little bit too much at this stage.
just trying to do a bit too much.
Not decisive at all at the moment, the Eagles' backline. And really, when you're forward, that's what you want.
Stuart Nicol and Gavin Colville warming up on the boundary line for the Eagles. So Bruce Winter perhaps ready to make a change. This is Ingerson thumping it down. McGowan got through nicely. Gives it off to Schwert. A quick and clever handball. Found Green. Green goes short. Coffey one-handed missed it. Rogers was there. Just got a fingertip to it. Out the back. Green applies the tackle. Devine wearing that number 14 Guernsey. Gives it out to Pesh. He tucks the ball under his arm. I like that style. Drills it forward, but it's misplaced the kick. And right on the chest of Hereda coming down from centre half back. Now it opens up for Green. Under pressure from Hannum. Now Green is killing Hannum so far. This is Peter Green. Gives it off inboard. Stevens lines up the goals. Dangerous play for the Eagles as Stevens gets his second. He just came streaming from the outer wing. Space opened up and he just ran into it nicely and kicked a wonderful running goal.
Well, Stevens having a good game to date. 6 kicks and 3 handballs and kicked 2 majors. So very dangerous at the moment. Bruce Winter might want to look at changing wings at this stage.
Gives them the lead. A dangerous player, Stevens. He's had 6 and 3. 35 plays 34. First time they've been in front. Centre bounce from the left, Romano Negri. In fact, I shouldn't say that because Stevens kicked the first goal. They led in the first few minutes of play. On the bottom of the pack was Wynn. Stevens again. This is Schwert under pressure. Neiman went through Hereda with a big long handball to Green, finds him in space. They've got all the footy at the moment. I couldn't say that the wind is necessarily favouring that end. David tells me it is from
I think it is,
level.
Rock. I reckon at ground level it's probably a goal or 2. It's perhaps not anymore, and if it blows up, looking at the flags now, maybe it has.
Okay, so maybe worth a goal or 2. At the foot of the pack is Taylor or Wiedemann. Pesh caught, good tackle on him. Staying with it, doing pretty well, all sorts of pressure was Walker. Dispossessed finally though. McGowan, Jones and Schwert combined. The ball is in long. Spears got the sit and he's got the mark.
Schwert will look to set something up for the Eagles. Distributes it wide to Rogers. Now, they trail by a point, the Eagles. They need to get back and just answer. They need a reply quickly. Oh, Hereda. They've got very good players on every line, the Bulldogs. This is turning into a most entertaining match. McGowan getting on top midfield. Pushes it forward, out on the lead. 55 out. Ingerson. Perfect pocket for the left footer. Called now to play on. Flights it up. It's a high ball. Now Cashley's going to have a fly, I thought for a moment. Fortunately, he pulled out or he would have killed Richardson. Stacks on the mill and it's a bounce.
Well, I'll tell you what, at the minute, the Bulldogs are just doing those little things a little bit better than the Eagles. In close, they're able to break away from tackles and get the handballs away, where the Eagles at the moment are getting harassed by persistent dogs.
Michael Ashon comments, your commentators David Mackay and I'm Neville Roberts, and that is a fantastic piece of work, Pele style. I didn't even see who did it. Help me out, boys.
Coffey kicks his third, and if you have a look in the replay, have a look at the goal umpire. Now, that's Jeff Marsland. We know him pretty well. He's been a goal umpire for years. Have a look at the spot. He can't even believe it. Look at this. There's the kick from Coffey. Now, let's zero in on Jeff Marsland.
It's not moved.
Oh, we missed him. He had the biggest grin I've ever seen from a goal umpire. Coffey, bang.
It's just that sort of player, isn't he?
Having a good day.
Volatile. Can do anything.
All right, in 1.5 games this year, he tops what he kicked in goals last year. He's got 7 for the season, only 6 last year.
The Dogs with a 7-point break. Arnold taps it down. Wrong colours though. Straight to Pesh. Taylor trying to do something tricky with the footy. Morford doesn't, just direct, almost Taylor. A couple, or Jones I should say. Neiman goes to help him. First to feet though is Remus. His kick is back towards the centre of the ground. The weed's up, too early though. Rogers mops up, back of the pack. Steers it back. He's a beautiful looking athlete. Puts Zilla under all sorts of pressure. The big knock came from Green. Opportunity for Morford. He's kicked 90 odd goals in the past. Neiman could kick 120 if he decides that's what he'd like to do. Casserly played well against Norwood last week. Out of his back pocket. Oh, the weed. Up he goes. Big knock against McGowan. Arnold's there. He fights hard against Morford. Girdham's in late. We're at half back for the Dogs.
And the Eagles have made a change. Romano Negri comes off. Stuart Nicol comes on. Now, it looks to me like David Neiman has gone to full forward and Andrew Taylor has come out to centre half forward. So Bruce Winter ringing the changes. We predicted that a couple of moments ago. Over the top of the ball. Players fight for it. And a free kick there. Now, look at this Girdham.
Not happy with the tackle from Zilla onto Schwert. Bit high.
No, I think that's fair enough. I mean, it was a very hard, typical Zilla tackle. He tackles you and hurts you all in the one motion. It's a Schwert kick. A long ball. Sheldrick at centre-half back thumps it away. It ricochets. I just wonder whether with McGowan getting on top of Wiedemann at midfield, maybe Bruce Winter might not make a change there as well, Michael.
Well, he just might do, but when you look at the Eagles forward setup at the minute, you've got Taylor, which, albeit not having a lot of opportunities, but they're just not getting enough of the footy.
Stevens on the back of the bottom of the pack, pays, gets the ball away. Hands are good from Sheldrick, the Eagles forward. Morford, no bounce there that he can use. Swirt, dangerous, got the call though. Finally the Pyman ends up with it. Tumble Punningerson, wants to go on, risks all to do it. Wine works hard over the top, in space. Richardson, all the time in the world, and made an absolute mess of it.
Well, Adam Richardson kicked a few last year for the Bulldogs, and as you caught it, had plenty of time. 82 goals. Expected a little bit better than that, but still playing on a half-forward flank this year.
Actually, quite right, Michael. He was a lone hand, really, when you look at Chopper Hanley kicked 44. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Richardson playing at half-forward, took the loose kick from full-back. Now he's 60 out. He'll go long. The lead's on. Big fly. Holding his feet beautifully. Devine did well. Got a free for a push in the back. Now Pesh was tripped, but that's play on the call. Wiedemann spills it forward. Taylor on the lead in front of Hereda. Bundle off the ball by Hereda. That's brilliant play. The big centre half back. Now it was raked out of his hands by Wiedemann. It's the little things that the Weed does that go unnoticed. Now a pack develops, there'll be a ball up, and the Eagles were very lucky to get out of that.
Very lucky indeed, and as we called it, Central Districts are persisting all day, every contest. That's what you have to do to be a good side.
And Richardson, Stewart played him off the bench a bit last week, Michael. Sort of player I reckon I'd like to keep on the ground more.
Well, he's got the height, as we called it, and can kick a long ball.
So Wiedemann happy to hold the ball in. The weather conditions here at Woodville Oval are just spectacular. Beautiful day for footy. Slight breeze, probably going to the left of screen, northern end. Central are going with it now. This is Girdham. Sets it out in front of Wind. Getting touches, plenty of body pressure behind the pay. McGowan goes to ground, the Eagles do too. Coffey working very hard in the forward line. Finally gets it back to Green. Coffey again. Rogers is in there. Sheldrick goes to ground. Body work's good.
Well, they were brilliant last week doing this, Michael, weren't they, against Norwood?
They were hard and scrappy. They've probably taken a leaf out of the Magpie machine. That's all Port's done over their history. Has been tough and hard. That's what you have to do to win finals.
Well, it's been very impressive, and it's clearly a big reason that the Dogs have taken another step already this year. I mean, it was a hard game at Elizabeth last week against Norwood, and they were pretty pumped up to win at the Red Leagues. Had to fight very, very hard, but they stayed with it. Ingerson and Spear hold the footy.
Alan Stewart's gone on record already as saying nothing better than playing in the grand final and winning it will be acceptable this year. They're 8th, 8th, 5th and 3rd, and he wants a flag.
Well, they've got some fine players.
I have got the players. There's no complaint about that, and they've been taught pretty well by Stewart into his 4th year at Elizabeth.
And what a cherry on their cake they've got with the recruiting this week of Jimmy Wine from Fitzroy.
It's a great get, isn't it? That's Girdham in screen. Number 10, Skipper. Talk about leading from the front. He's pretty tough. Plays on the ball most of the time as a ruck rover. Rests at half forward. Can kick goals. Opportunity.
And that's the cherry on the cake I was just talking about.
What a point.
And he kicks a point.
Well, talk was that Strooper and Wind were going to be a package deal.
Didn't work out that way, and he's here by himself.
Well, Strooper will be a very good recruit for Glenelg, make no mistake about that. He can play any position, but I think Wind will be probably the preeminent recruit to South Australia this year. This is Wiedemann, bundled off the ball, over the top of it, Pesh working hard, Arnold flicks it out, Payes' kick was nicely smothered, over the top of the ball was Richardson who did the smothering. Now Green, this is Peter Green to Schwert, 45 metres out, just jags it onto the left boot. Coffey, confidence sky high, over the top of it, Spear, handball's clear, now Coffey butters up for it again, paddles it through the back door, Healy, handball's back, this is Tim Cook around the corner, Cook, who didn't kick a lot of goals last year, goes goalward. It's thumped off hands and out of play. Free kick.
Too high.
And it's Pesh with the ball. Tunnel ball, if you don't mind, Coffee. He's doing it all.
Well, he's thinking.
Yes, he is. So from defence, this is Hayden Robbins with the kick. A high ball. The pack flew. Nobody could bring it down. Finally, it's left to Schwert. He jags one forward again. Just desperately kicking the ball forward. And now it's off hands, and it'll be a throw-in.
Well, as I called it earlier, David, close.
Sorry, Super Sid with his doll.
Well, he's got the Nord colours on there, has he?
He's got a North Adelaide arm, a Crows beanie, an Eagles jumper, and so I think he's already decided that he's just confused, old Super. Just confused, and he's demented.
He's just done too many miles.
Centre 34 plays 43. Schwert gets up off the ground. Number 40.
You shouldn't ridicule people who support football, fellas.
I'm not ridiculing, I'm just saying the man's got to make a decision. He's confused. 18 minutes in, snap, offline, needs a bounce and doesn't get it. Pesh.
No, I think it's condescending the way you people...
It's only your interpretation, David. Don't put words in my mouth. 5-4 the Eagles. There he is, Sid. He's been a great fan of footy for many, many years. 34 the Eagles, 43 the Dogs.
Good on you, Super. Ingerson thumps it down, stolen by Devine. Over the top of it, Roger. Oh, he was going to be creamed by McGowan. Robbins wins a free kick against Cook. Now, he's been a prominent recruit too, I can tell you. He's done enough to impress today. Has time for a bounce. He'll need to get a kick away. Finally does so. He was looking for Pays. Pays and Healy now. There's height advantage Healy on Pays. There's obviously a move there. This is Pesh. Brings it in board. Oh, this is David Green got him. Morford, who's been quiet, gets a kick to the outer side. Into space goes Zilla and Stevens. Hannum thumped it forward. Now Hannum, they need a lift from him, the Eagles. This is Jones. Tried to do it just a little too cleverly. Hurried his work. Around the corner goes Zilla. Into space. Hannum was clean bowled. So too Harada. Crashing through Reimers, but Taylor claimed him. This is tough in close. Casserly skirts the boundary line and drills it short and low and out of play.
Well, at the moment, I think the Bulldogs are making it happen, and the Eagles are hoping it's going to happen.
Yes, they're working very, very hard, the Dogs, and their work ethic is, as we've discussed earlier, part of why they've taken another step. Looks like Mr. Polides, not quite though. Probably hasn't got the property portfolio that Mr. Polides has. 20 minutes in. Second quarter, we're live at Woodville Oval. Magnificent day. Chance for Girdham. Oh, your worst nightmare, isn't it? Your worst nightmare.
It's like being hit on a freeway by a garbage truck at 100 kilometres an hour.
Oh, he looks better than that.
No, it's just... he just runs right over the top of people.
Nickel in ruck, gets it down. So the Eagles have got to step up a little bit. They don't trail by too much, though. It's only 9 points.
Hey, fellas, I should just point out, too, good crowd here. We're live around the country and a terrific crowd supporting both sides here. I'd suggest equally Central District fans and Eagle fans. Perfect day for them to be out enjoying the football. That kick was smothered. Back with play. Good ball forward into space it goes. This is Jones. A high ball on the right boot. It's coming around. The umpire has a good look, but he says it's offline. It's one behind. Now, that's the Eagles' first score since quarter time, and we're almost 21 minutes into the second quarter.
Yeah, not much joy for the Eagles' forward lines at the moment. Sam Jones, what, 6'2", 6'3"?
Do you reckon the Eagles missed the odd ball carrier, David? Don't take it over a line like, we talked about Zilla earlier, but...
Stephen Zilla they've lost. The year before they've lost the Brewers. The Glenn Freeborns, these style of players. Camporelli is one that's being severely missed, frankly, when you see Stevens running away.
It's been a feature of their game, though, hasn't it? Be able to carry the footy, to get it over a line, have players running forward. It just doesn't seem to be... It's a bit stilted for them at the moment.
Well, take nothing away from Centrals. They bottled it up early, and the Eagles have fallen into the Bulldogs' game plan. And the Bulldogs at this stage are just dictating the terms.
I'm not trying to put holes in the Eagles' armoury, but it's just something I've noticed. Wind, getting plenty of touches.
It's a question that's got to be asked, there's no doubt about that. This is Wiedemann, a high ball, David Green out the back door to Girdham. In turn, he has another runner in Schwert. Forward into space, Jimmy Wine, just picking up possessions almost to will. It's a beautiful kick. Now, Coffey, that's the one he should have swallowed. He's taken everything else and missed the straightforward ones.
Yeah, a bit of concentration lapse there, but as you call it, Jimmy Wine, 14 touches, 11 and 3 thus far. And as we see the crowd there, one of Neville's favourites, he's to come and watch him kick a bag.
21 minutes in, second quarter. They're incorrigible, Michael. On the ground, Zilla, beautifully done. Works back hard to get in there. Green in there as well. It's only metres away from the Dogs' goals. We saw Coffey kick an absolutely sensational goal. You'll see it in the highlights at half-time, I'm sure. Put some pressure on the boys in the back room, won't it?
At half-time, we're going to also talk to Peter Schwartz, the former Eagles skipper, who retired at the end of last year. I'd be very interested to hear his thoughts on the state of play.
Cook, close to the line. Devine wearing Schwartz's old Guernsey, as you said earlier, a real compliment for him. Mark Devine used to wear 41. He's just turned the numbers around.
I see Jason King, who is playing only his third senior game today. After 81 or 82 reserves games, he really has earned his spot in this Eagle lineup the hard way. Wiedemann over the top of the ball, manhandled by Cook. He is a target. Every time he's near the ball, they want a piece of him, Wiedemann. A long ball that's wide out there, Stewie Nicol. Inboard. Nicol beautifully distributes it off to Rogers, who in turn has Zilla running. A short ball to Pays is good play. Now they can break away. Pays needs to have a bounce. The forwards need to sort it out and come at him. He instead goes short. This is King. From grandstand wing towards centre forward. Hannum has the sit. He flew too. Good courage. Couldn't complete the mark, but he had to go. Wakeland got it from Reimers out wide to Castley. He's impressed me last week and this week. Everything he's done has been nice and solid. Pace threw that out. Taylor stepped into that ball, now steps at it again. Back it comes to Walker. Walker can go long to the goals. It's offline. Morford was calling for it, but it's a behind. 5-6 the Eagles, 6-7 the Bulldogs.
You'd have to be pretty complimentary of the Dogs' defence. They're pretty tough, but they also get the support of their wingmen back there too, Michael.
Yes, and if you've got a couple of extra players down there where you throw the ball around.
They've been very impressive. Ramos' kick is long. It's a beauty too, to the centre of the ground. Arnold can't catch that. Stevens closes on Nicol and puts the pressure on.
Well, you really couldn't pick a winner at this stage. I mean, the Bulldogs lead by 7 points. They're playing the better football at the moment, but the Eagles got 20 points up at one stage in that first term.
Yes, and haven't kicked a goal this quarter. So while the Dogs have added 4, 3 courtesy of one man, Grant Coffey, doing pretty well. Number 8, Jason Ziller. His kick is high. He's impressed me, Michael.
Now Castley, yes, father captained the Doggies
many years ago, but certainly in the blood. McGowan, cool as you like. Swert under pressure though. Hard worker. Stevens is there. Beautifully done. Green off the ground. Swert. Andrews had him. Green. Clever footy, the Dogs, as they put themselves up towards half forward. Sheldrick being ridden like a suckerfish against shark there. There was plenty of them on him. Got it away though. Jason Ziller again puts it up towards half forward. You've got to go, Scotty. He does in the end. Pyman puts it down. Pesh too far back for him. Arnold loses it. Nicol in there. They'll tighten it up and hold it in if they can, the Dogs. Castley unlucky not to get a free kick.
Well, at the moment, the Eagles' forward lines really are just playing from behind, and the Bulldog defence, chock full of confidence, are just running at the ball, making it happen.
They're also getting runners back and congesting the Eagle forward line, which is even making it more difficult.
Indeed. We're live on ABC Sport. We're into time on in the second quarter here at Woodville Oval. The clash between the Eagles and the Dogs.
Greg Walker on screen. Umpire Daniel Cowell puts the ball in the air. Stuart Nicol, who thumps that down to ground. Trying to crash through over the top of the ball was Robbins. It's taken away by Swert, who in turn has, was that Reimers? With the socks down, it is. Oh, well done, Rogers. Did well on Green to force him off the ball. Zilla handballs into space. Walker runs onto it. Now Taylor from behind. Taylor in the sun. Just missed it momentarily. It was a difficult ball to claim. The crowd gave him a jeer, but they're being very harsh. And now Stevens. It's a foot race with Hannum. Now Hannum needs to show some wares. Did well. Picked himself up the free kick. Now play on, son. They need to get moving. Look at the congestion that's starting now. And this is where the Eagles need to move it quicker from midfield, because the Bulldogs are just bottling it up back there. Neiman front position. Pesh handballs it out. Robbins, 45 out and closing, goes towards goal, but he's offline. 3 points this term for the Eagles. They're 5-7, trailing the Bulldogs 6-7.
Yes, well, great work by Pesh then, and that's the Rovers' spot at the contest. Punched forward, and he just got first into it.
Wine from defence, a high ball. Now there's a push in the back clearly then. Richardson. The offender was Graham Woods, the former Fitzroy Melbourne and Mildura player rather. Loose ball, Cook got through traffic nicely. I like the way this fella's improved in each of his last 3 seasons. Coffey missed another sitter. Now he comes inside 50. Spear got back quickly, applies the tackle. Coffey frankly should have taken the mark. Was clear cut. Back there, Devine. Handballs into space. Gave King no opportunity. Was too wide for King. And there'll be a throw in at half back.
Not the best of handballs by Devine then. Should have hit him on the chest.
37 plays 43. The margin now back to 1 goal. King cleverly into Pays. Gets support from Woods. A long ball. Neiman was there. Applied to Shepherd for Robbins, who now appears to be having a run on the ball. This is Pesh on the left boot, wide to Walker, getting out in front of Casserly. Now with pace. Casserly was caught wanting then, but the siren sounded, and at quarter time, it's the Bulldogs by 7 points after trailing by 18 points at quarter time.
Yes, and the Bulldogs had a good quarter there, good start, and one magnificent goal by Grant Coffey, and he's a real focal point for them at this minute. On the other hand, the Eagles up forward really can't get anything going whatsoever. They brought Stuart Nicol onto the ground, and only the last 5 minutes took Romy Negri off. Sam Jones doing a little bit, got a bit of ability up there. They really need more across the half-forward lines. In close at the moment. The Doggies are faring a lot better, getting hold of the ball, and their recruit in Jimmy Wind, as we call it, is having a good debut for the Dogs, playing superb football.
So at half-time, it's Central District leading 6 goals, 7-43. The Eagles 5, 7-37. The action is coming to you exclusive to ABC Sport.
A sport update now, and first up, cricket and the Shield final, where a short time ago, in reply to South Australia's first dig of 214, Queensland were 1 for 233 and 19-run lead. Trevor Barsby 112 not out. The batsman out today, Matthew Hayden, for 74. The lead up to the Golden Slipper continues today at Rose Hill. In the Riesling Slipper trials, the placings were 5, 8 and 7. The winner, Ginzano, starting at 66 to 1. While number 11, Octagonal, took out the Todman Slipper trials ahead of the favourite Al Mazgay and Tuscany Flyer. Race 4 at Rose Hill was the Far Lap Stakes over 1,500 metres. Brave Warrior, the starting favourite, at 9 to 4.
Brave Warrior hit the lead 100 outs. Here's Vido Dara late, and Ingenuity from nowhere. Ivory's Irish coming at Brave Warrior. Brave Warrior just in front. They're wide apart. Oh, gee, it's pretty close.
The placings 1, 5 and 16. Brave Warrior, the favourite, at 9 to 4. Ivory's Irish started at 7 to 1 and Vedadara at 25s. Time now for a news update with Indira Naidu.
Good afternoon. Syringes could soon be available in vending machines throughout the state. A 6-month trial has begun to allow needles to be dispensed from 2 machines at AIDS education centres. Syringes are currently only available at chemists and health centres. The trial is targeting those drug users who wish to remain anonymous. New South Wales voters have turned out early and in large numbers for today's state election. Political commentators say the fight for power between Premier John Fay's Liberal National Coalition and Bob Carr's opposition Labor Party will go down to the wire. Polling is also underway in the Canberra by-election, with all 37 booths reporting a steady flow of voters. And in overseas news, there's been another series of raids on properties linked to the religious cult suspected of the Tokyo subway gassing. Police say they've uncovered enough deadly chemicals to kill 10 million people. The sect says the material was used for making pottery. Now it's back to Neville Roberts at the Woodville Oval.
And welcome back to Woodville Oval. The margin here, the Eagles are trailing by 6 points, a 24-point turnaround from quarter time. So the Dogs doing it pretty well. Stephen Trigg joins me on the boundary line. In fact, he's got a retired competitor, one you probably used to play against, Stephen.
Yes, I did, and I have to say he's looking absolutely and remarkably relaxed. His name is Peter Schwarz, and Peter, what do you think of the game so far?
Oh, the first quarter was pretty good, Stephen. It was fairly open and flowing. The second quarter, Central's closed up a bit and started to hit in the packs a bit better. So, no, it should be a good game in the second half.
And you wouldn't have missed pre-season, I'm sure?
No, it's been the one plus, I think, about being retired.
Absolutely. What about now watching, though, from the point of view of retiring and now having to watch?
It's hard. I've sort of stayed away a bit from the whole club and football over pre-season and whatever, and last week I didn't go to the game. I listened to it on the radio, and that was hard. And today's certainly is a little bit difficult, but I've got to I've got to make the break from it, and this is the best way to confront it.
So you're not going to be involved in selection or coaching of any description? I heard a little whisper at lunchtime about chairman of selectors or some such role.
No, no one said anything to me about it, but
it's a chance to get a bit back.
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean that would be good, but no one has said anything, so we'll wait and see.
Peter, an opinion. We've heard a lot about in the off-season about the Eagles losing a lot of players. Philippou, Zilla, Kennedy, a whole bunch of good players. What do you think? Can you cover them?
It's going to be difficult. What I think it's done is it's brought the Eagles back to the same as the other clubs. After 4 years of being spoiled in a lot of ways, with having a lot of depth, now it's back to the field. And they seem to have recruited reasonably well with a couple of blokes there. But, I mean, they'll be the same as any other club. If injuries do strike a couple of key players, they'll struggle.
So a question of depth now, because as you say, 4 years ago, there was a matter of 2 players for every one spot. Now it's much thinner, I suppose.
That's right. And that sort of has an effect on that. Players tend to, if they know there's not pressure on somebody in the reserves for their position, it doesn't necessarily spur them on as much as what it normally would.
So an interesting year. I'm sitting here on the boundary side watching the Weed in action. I have to say I'm happy on this side of the white line. He's a tough competitor, isn't he? Great player for you to have in the middle.
He's probably he's one thing that we missed last year, particularly in that grand final, was the Weed and the way he hits the ball and hits the player and just intimidates other players. So he'll be a big asset. I mean, it'd be nice to think that we can keep him for most of the year, but for Weed's sake, I hope he plays a lot for the Crows.
Now, I wanted to ask you about that. Your decision to retire after a losing grand final. You won it, of course, in '93. To then front up and lose in '94. As the captain of the club, it must have been a great temptation to say, bugger it, keep going.
It was a very tough decision to make to retire, and now not being able to play, it makes it very difficult to overcome that Port loss, and it eats away at you. And ask any player that's played in a losing grand final, it certainly does eat away at them. But not having a chance to sort of make up for that is an added difficulty.
And back to what you've got now, where Sam Philippou's departure's left a hole at centre half forward. David Neiman looks all right there, and of course you've got Andrew Taylor. So there's still some quality, Peter.
There certainly is. There's some very good players in that side, and what it just means is those players now that have played 40 or 50 league games, then got to take the next step and take a bit more responsibility and really develop themselves as permanent league players, and I'm sure that those fellas will do that.
Peter, thanks for talking to us. Go and enjoy a pie and sauce, and we'll hand back to Neville.
No worries, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, there are some benefits with retirement, and certainly diet is one of them, but he's been a fine player, skipper of the Eagles, and captained them to their 93 premiership. Unfortunately missed out last year. Might just have a look at the scoreboard here at Woodville Oval. They trail by 18 points, the Dogs, in the first quarter. They turned it around, kept the Eagles goalless in the second, and now lead by 6 points.
And the Bulldogs, yes, is kicking 4 in that second term, and Grant Coffey having a day out at the minute, kicking 3. Stevens on a wing, a good wingman, kicking goals on 2, and Gurdon 1, their skipper. Neiman, well, hasn't had a lot to do, but has kicked 2, and Jones, Robins and Zilla each 1. And having a look at the stats for the game, well, you can see the Doggies starting to just edge out a little bit in the kicks division there, and the marks. More importantly, the hit-outs, they've jumped back, was 18 or 15 to 3 at one stage, and now 18 to 14. So that's where they've got control of it in that second term, where the Eagles really couldn't find much, and frees for the Eagles getting a lot more in front of the Central Districts Footy Club there. So all in readiness for a very good second half, Neville.
Yes, Michael, and that is important, isn't it, that Arnold really fighting back in that knockout division. They were trailing about 13-6 against in the first quarter, so we're getting on top in the air and getting the ball down to their little men, carrying it forward, giving their forwards a real opportunity. Stephen Trigg rejoins me on the boundary line, and looking at the gains for all clubs this year, Stephen, has become very, very obvious that the AFL draft now plays an enormous part of SANFL footy. One, in holding on to the players that have been drafted for as long as you can, and secondly, getting amongst the delisted players out of Victoria.
Absolutely. Neville, I wrote a little piece last week saying that I thought it was a positive. If you go back a couple of years in this competition, it was a matter of very, very young players and kids who really weren't ready. Now, the clubs have got to manage their resources, their funds very carefully, because some of these players are not inexpensive, let's put it that way, but they do complement the kids and they can allow them to come through in good time. For the Eagles, of course, we've seen a couple in action today. Robins looks all right. They've got Jones up forward at the moment as well, who is from St Kilda and is a very good player. Now, I looked at Graham Woods a little earlier and I thought, I wonder if he's a cricketer, but he's not. Of course, Western Australia former Test player in Graham Wood. This bloke's from Fitzroy, and he looks to be a pretty good player as well. And then just down the list, they've got Simons, Shoulders, Colville, who's sitting on the bench at the moment from the Geelong Falcons, a Browning from the same club, and a bloke called John Hastings. So they've gained a little bit. On the losses side, this is the hurtful part for the Eagles at the moment. They've got Stephen Ziller, who's gone to St Kilda. Mark Kennedy is also at the same club. They've got Glenn Freeborn, who doesn't often get mentioned, I guess, when we're talking about the departures for the Eagles, but he's a very, very good player. Had a great season last year, has gone to North Melbourne. The key man is Sam Philippou at centre-half forward. I talked to Peter Schwarz about covering that role. Sam's gone, and at the moment David Neiman's sitting in there, and Scott Camporelli has had a big impact so far with Carlton. Then down a lesser list in terms of, well, in fact, I've got Peter Schwarz down there, so that's being a bit unkind to him. But in terms of guys that haven't played much league footy, Clements, Shackey had played a bit, but didn't much last year. And then Simon Neve, but of course Peter Schwarz, who we just spoke to, has retired. So on the negative list, if you like, for the Eagles, they've lost a lot, and as you heard Peter Schwarz, Neville mentioned just a moment ago, their coverage of them and their depth at the moment, just not the same as it was in years gone by.
No, and they have been the target of AFL scouts, haven't they, since that merger back in '91. Things have really thinned out since then.
Well, it's just a matter, isn't it, of in '91, albeit with two clubs, Woodville and West Torrens, who weren't dynamic clubs or very strong clubs at that time, joining forces. And what you had, as we were talking with Peter about, is two players for one position vying for the spot. So you have this wonderful competitive spirit through the organisation or through the football club, which manifested itself in very successful times, particularly in 1993, and then almost last year, were it not for the most magnificent Port Adelaide side I think we'd seen for some years, they would have gone all the way again. So just at the moment, it looks like those departures are going to hurt them, whereas in the years gone by, they've had wonderful competitiveness. The depth now not quite there.
We're just about to have a look at some of them, Steve, but before we do, they seem to have lost a lot of the same type of player, particularly the running players who can take a ball over a line.
Well, I reckon that Sam Philippou, Neville's the key man because he was so competitive at centre-half forward. But you're quite right. Stephen Ziller was a running type. Scott Camporelli had a big impact very quickly. So they've lost their runners. They've now got not quite the same competitiveness, and their ability to come up this year is going to depend on, I think, a little bit of luck. Like the rest of the clubs, they don't get too many injuries.
Let's have a look at some of the Eagle recruits for '95.
I've played most of my footy in Tasmania. From my Hutchins school back in Hobart, and basically league TFL after that, and 2 years ago came to St Kilda. I mean, fantastic guys. They've been very successful over the last couple of years especially, and I think they've got a great chance this year. Bruce is probably a lot quieter than the coaches I've had, and he's quite a tactician, and he likes to go one-on-one with his players quite a bit. I think centre-half forward would be my favourite spot there. I think basically just a good grab and a long kick. Yeah, my dream's always been to play AFL footy, and that dream's still pretty strong.
I come from Esperance in West Australia, and then played at Deschamel, and then at Claremont. Dale Peniza, who I played with at Claremont, he used to play here. Centre or ruck rover? Not really.
Well, I originally come from Torquay, where I played under 15s for 3 years, and then went to Geelong Falcons. And I've played there the last 3 years. Well, I didn't get picked up in the draft, and Woodville got in contact with me, and the SNFL's the second best league in Australia, so I decided to come over. And he seems quite good. He's quiet, and he's probably more one-on-one talking to. Well, my favourite position is probably the wing or half-back. Well, I think I'm quick. Yeah, I think nearly everyone who comes over here has probably got AFL aspirations.
I'm originally from Colac in Victoria, played there as a young fella and played the last 2 years with the Geelong Falcons. Well, basically I finished school last year and didn't go too well in the draft, so well, there's the next best thing, get away from Colac, so. Oh yeah, I suppose he can be pretty mean when he wants to, but basically he seems, yeah, pretty good. He's sort of calm, but when he needs to get a point across, I think he sort of does it all right. Well, basically on the ball, I think. Like playing there because I can run all day. That'd be nice to sort of play in the AFL, but wait and see.
I come from Hamilton in Victoria. Played most of my junior football there. Also came through the senior ranks. Went to Mildura in '93. Had a stint at Fitzroy and finished back at Mildura, and now I'm over here. Probably because they're a successful club and very financial. Very intelligent, strategic type of coach. Yeah. Favourite, I wouldn't say I've got favourite positions. Probably ruck rover the main. Probably because you get plenty of touches, see plenty of the ball. Probably marking. Not anymore. No, I was at Fitzroy there for a while and I didn't like Melbourne at all, so I gave that the chop.
The new boys for the Eagles, and a national potpourri of people. They're coming from all over Australia now to play football in South Australia. Recognised, I guess, by most footballers, particularly delisted ones, as the next best competition in the country. Well, the Dogs have been pretty active too. One player playing today that's doing pretty well is Jim Wine. DB caught up with him during the week.
Jim, welcome to South Australia. It must be a big change from the big spaces of Victoria.
Oh yeah, it is, but it's been a great change anyhow.
It must come as a real surprise to you, because it has to me and every other football follower. After 8 seasons at Fitzroy, the club's axed you. Did they give you any reason?
No, there wasn't any reason, but you know, that's the thing with football clubs. I suppose they really don't have to, so here I am.
Well, let's just explain to the people at home that you've played for Fitzroy for 8 seasons. You've finished in the last 5 years. Outside 6th in the best and fairest. You've been an integral part of the Fitzroy machine, and suddenly they let a player of your ability let loose. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit hard to understand. Also, I was contracted for 2 years and I still had a year to run, so that sort of makes it a little bit hard to understand, but that's the way it goes, I suppose.
Well, let's be blunt. Fitzroy's loss is certainly Central District's gain. You'll be a valuable acquisition. They've told you that you're going to be the first rover.
Yes, I have. I'm really looking forward to getting out there.
Have you had a chance to meet any of the players yet?
Oh, I've had a dinner with about 5 of them, so I know 5 names out there, so hopefully that'll be fine.
Well, what's the program out in the field for you today? I mean, how do you call for the ball? How do you let them know where you are and where you're coming from?
I'll be looking at a few numbers out there today, but actually I got to know the round-the-ball players, so I know them well, so hopefully that'll work out.
Well, I suppose Centrals would be expecting you to be an on-field leader. You've played under some great coaches. David Barkham was your first senior coach, then Curly Austin. More recently, Robert Shaw, who's had a terrific record here so far with the Crows. So you've obviously bring a wealth of experience with you. Yeah, they've taught me quite well. It's been great to have those sort of coaches behind you, and it really gives you that experience when you're out in amongst it. So, yeah, they've really helped me. I suppose settling into South Australia, you've got to find a house and a job. You haven't got either yet? Not yet. I'm staying with Craig Potter at the moment. He's got a couple of dogs, so I don't know which has priority, me or the dogs at the moment, but he's looking after me quite well. Now, what do you do for a living? I'm a gardener back at Melbourne, so I'm looking for a bit of outside work out over here. Now, you've signed just for the 1 year? Yeah, just the 1 year at the moment, but hopefully we'll have an extended stay. Well, Jim, we'd love to see you here. I know, for one, that you're a very exciting player. I've enjoyed your footy over the last few years. I was amazed Fitzroy let you go, so I'm looking forward to seeing you play. Good luck today. Thanks very much. Yes, the new boy out Elizabeth playing pretty well here today at Woodville Oval. Well, the situation here, we're about to get cracking with the third quarter. There's a 6-point margin in favour of the Dogs. They trail by 18 points. David Mackay joins me from the boundary line. And David, 3 goals to coffee, really got the Dogs moving in the first part of that second quarter. Well, I think he was the finishing touch. He really wasn't the difference between the two sides, but he's the man who put the finishing touches on the Central District cake. And Jimmy Wine, in that interview, Neville, I said I was looking forward to watching him play, and he didn't let us down, did he? He played a terrific quarter, or terrific half of football.
Yes, he gets in and gets the footy. He's not afraid to meet the body. His skills are pretty good. And I'm surprised about how these AFL players just take so little time to get into the tune of local footy.
Well, when you played 140 AFL games like he has, you finished, 5 times into the top 6 for Fitzroy with some very good players around you. Lyon, Ruse, those sort of people. You know that you've got a quality recruit. And I think when you played as much footy as he has, it's just about another game of football. Find the footy, give it out, distribute it and run on. He's done that pretty well.
Okay, the game we've got at hand today, very important. They're both round 1 winners. The Dogs, we were impressed last week with their tough style of footy. The Eagles got away to a pretty good start, 18-point margin in the first quarter, but the defence of the Dogs, very good. But also, we've talked about it a few times, the ball carriers for the Eagles, they're not there anymore.
But we shouldn't be surprised by Central District's form. Remember, they put up a terrific showing in the Foundation Cup Grand Final last year against the Eagles. And I think it was only their inaccurate kicking for goal in that game that lost them the match. The Eagles won the Cup Final, but Centrals weren't disgraced. And I think even through the finals last year, they were in pretty good form. And if you have a look at the highlights from the first half, you'll see Grant Coffey finish off the 3 goals. But look for the play midfield as we watch these highlights.
Wiedemann gets up off the bottom of the pack, goes backwards. Has support. Devine kicks the ball long underneath it. Big opportunity there for Robbins. Big jump from behind. Green, the kick is good. And finds Coffey 40 metres out.
As just mentioned, Rocky only kicked 6 goals for the whole season last year. He kicked 4 last week.
Started off half back. The kick is lovely. Not a problem at all. Splits the centre.
And Green claims it at centre wing, grandstand side. Brings it back midfield. Girdham nicely played to Hereda down from centre half back. They're running and attacking the Bulldogs. They look dangerous. Coffey from behind thumped the ball to ground. Roved his own thump, if you don't mind. Sells a dummy, snaps on the left, and he's kicked the goal. Now it opens up for Green. Under pressure from Hannum. Now Green is killing Hannum so far. This is Peter Green. Gives it off inboard. Stevens lines up the goals. Dangerous play for the Eagles as Stevens gets his second.
Michael A. on comments, your commentators David Mackay and I'm Neville Roberts, and that is a fantastic piece of work, Pele style. I didn't even see who did it. Help me out, boys.
Coffey kicks his third, and if you have a look in the replay, have a look at the goal umpire. Now, that's Jeff Marsland. We know him pretty well. He's been a goal umpire for years. Have a look at the spot. He can't even believe it. Wine from defence, a high ball. Now there's a push in the back clearly then. Richardson. The offender was Graham Woods, the former Fitzroy Melbourne and Mildura player rather. Loose ball, Cook got through traffic nicely. I like the way this fella's improved in each of his last 3 seasons. Coffey missed another sitter. Now he comes inside 50, Spear got back quickly, applies the tackle. Coffey frankly should have taken the mark. It was clear cut. Back there Devine, handballs into space, gave King no opportunity.
And some good highlights there from the second quarter. David, it really was the quarter for the Dogs. They kept the Eagles goalless and now lead by 6 points.
Yes, it was a very good turnaround, wasn't it? Only 2 points to the Eagles in that quarter let them down. And I'm down at ground level, Rocky. I thought the breeze from perhaps up in the grandstand was a little stronger, but there's no real breeze. And you've got to say that the Eagles won't have any advantage in this term.
Have they been sitting back a little bit, David?
Well, I don't think so. I think the Eagles haven't been perhaps as physical as they were last year, but take nothing away from Central District. They've been pretty solid right around the ball.
Okay, thank you, David. On the boundary line, we're nearly set to go for the third quarter. The margin is just 6 points in favour of the Dogs. Your commentators are Michael Asian. To take up the call, Stephen Trigg.
ABC Sport bringing you the second half of this game live from Woodville Oval. And the Bulldogs, a 24-point turnaround through that second term. Great piece of work from them. They looked as though they were shot halfway through that first quarter, but they bounced back well. That's Arnold way up over the top. He's worked his way back into this game pretty well. Wine. I saw the legs being rubbed before for a little cramp before half-time, so expect to see not quite as much from him. Arnold did it pretty well. Got it to Schwert. Bit of free movement now. Gets it in short. Beautiful pass. And it's well taken by Grant Coffey, about 45 metres out.
Well, Grant Coffey, opportunity to kick number 4. And intercepted by the Bulldog run-on players in the centre there. And when that happens, tears the side apart.
3 goals in the second term for Coff. And didn't he make a difference in the finishing department? Now he's going to be into what breeze there is. The head needs to stay down, kick through the footy. It's not a bad looking kick either. Right up towards the line. I think it might be shepherded through. The umpire's had a good look. Watch this. Melodrama at its best. Up go the 2 fingers. And it's a goal. They love doing that, don't they? But it's a great score for Coffey. And he gets his 4th on the board.
4-1 he's kicked, and Sheldrick not quite being able to get up and touch that before it's over the line. And Stephen Schwert, he's had 22 touches, playing a great game, and there's the kick. High, long and straight.
Yes, he's dangerous. Coffee at best. 5-7 plays 7-7 the margin, now going out to 12 points. I would have thought that the Eagles might have taken some notice of what Coffee did against, as that's holding the ball, against Nord and Elizabeth last week. He really just unobtrusively jumped in for his 5, Michael.
Well, he did, and he's done that to date, and plenty more time left to kick another 5.
Richardson caught underneath it. A throw from Wakeland is good. Schwert, Casserly and Stevens through the centre on the left boot. Beautifully put ball. Have a look at that. Oh, it's just delight to play when the ball comes in like that to you. Coffee out on a lead. He did that nicely and gave Stevens something to kick to. Tumble punt. I'll give it back to you. You promised to kick him to me like that all day.
Well, if the Eagle forward lines don't get hold of it cleanly, the Bulldog defence are making them pay. And Stevens, well, he's kicked 2 to date.
Kicking in a bit of a breeze, might blow it around a bit, needs to get over the top. We saw the last kick. He is quite skillful. Head down, punches at it, controls the breeze, and plenty of skill. Scotty Stevens, a real fan I am of his 3rd goal.
Yes, well, he certainly won't go unnoticed. It's a fair head, but he's had a good day out at
Please
this
explain.
stage.
Please explain what you mean by that.
Well, it's bald, shiny, and you can't miss it.
There for the grace of God, what you and I, Michael.
We're heading that way.
In a big way.
He can play footy though, can't he? 3 goals from centre wing. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and now 1 in the third. And we're just 3 minutes into the 3rd quarter. The Bulldogs taking control, 8-7 to 5-7. Another bounce in the middle of the ground. Arnold, do you think he's not getting things moving? Textbook work, down towards Wine. He loves this ground at the moment. One take from Coffey, not quite, goes off the ground. He's trying to do the spectacular again. It rolls towards the line and just misses.
Now, that is part of his game, isn't it? I mean, that's the Coffey we've come to know and love. Plenty of time to pick it up, but no, I'll do this.
Yes, not what the coach would want.
If you were coaching him, what would your advice be, Stephen?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head as the runner goes out towards him now. Pick the ball up and play the percentage game. Wiedemann has died out of the game in the 2nd term. Gets it out wide towards Pays. From half back towards half forward. Herrera has been absolutely superb at centre half back. This time he's outmarked. And it's going to go to David Neiman.
It's just like slow motion for Coffey as the runner goes out towards him. He knows what is going to happen, and before he gets there.
Sure, he knew it was coming. Stuart Nichols got it at 50. He'll have the advantage of a breeze. Decides that one option in short is Nick Pesh, and that's not the right one.
Had no trouble scoring from this line in the first half.
And nor should there be any problem this time. So Nickel, head down, punches through the ball. Beautiful looking kick. Look at that. Straight through. So the Eagles bounce back. 8-8 Centrals. The Eagles now 6-7.
Well, Stewie Nickel just coming on the ground late in that first term. Only had something like 5 touches. But that's a beautiful kick for goal.
Yeah, goal-kicking big man. Plays in the ruck. We've seen him kick a bundle before, either at centre-half forward, out of the pocket, or at full forward. There's the stats. Not much in it. The hit-out's coming back. Not much in kicks. A few more handballs. All the rest pretty on freeze. 8. A margin there. Quite significant. 56 plays, 43. The Dogs with the lead. Out in front, Stevens. On the wrong boot. Puts it up high. Rogers sits at the back. Ingerson over the top. Cook with the crumb. If he can keep it in, he's got in front Green. Coffey short. Look at this. Bang. Pretty tidy footy, isn't it?
He's a great addition, Peter Green. We were talking earlier about the fact that he'd had a stoush with Wayne Wiedemann and he stood toe-to-toe, which is a reasonable sign in terms of his courage. But he also gets a lot of the footy, Michael.
Gets plenty of the footy. And Tim Cook there, great work, has enabled Grant Coffey to have a shot for number 5.
6 marks. 8 kicks, 1 handball. He's kicked 4.
for 2 and 1 out of bounds on the full as he puts his hands on his hips. Didn't manage the breeze at all well there.
I think that's the thing about Coffey, is that he has the ability to take the game by the throat. He could really throttle a game if he wanted to. But what he does every now and again is let himself down. A couple of moments ago, the little kick off the ground and then just lazy on that kick.
Too right, and I believe he's improved a great deal, Grant Coffey, and all credit to Stuart. Just needs to get a few nicks out of his game. Wiedemann punches one in long. Taylor underneath it. Big jump from behind was good by Wakeland. The central defence is pretty tough. Jones over the line. Kicked a beauty in the first quarter.
Well, the Eagle forward line have not been able to bust clear of the Bulldog defence at this stage. And interesting to see Coach Bruce Winter has left the forward line as it was at the start of the game. So he wants their on-ballers probably just to get it down a bit more fluently.
Pretty simple game, isn't it? Get yourself in front position and get a hold of the football. The Eagles did it for the first 20 minutes and Central have done it since. Free kick though inside range for the Eagles, the home side. And they'll get a chance through a man who's been very quiet today, Scott Morfitt.
Well, they're the penalties that really stick in the claw. The decision's practically in front of a goal, 20 metres just on a 45-degree angle.
Morfitt with just his 5th kick for the afternoon. On a perfect day, it slides across the front from the instep and goes across the line out of bounds on the full. So a wasted opportunity. Play on, says the umpire. Healy's on the end of it. He's not going to be able to do much though, because another whistle went and the direction is to take it back to the back pocket.
It's interesting to see a player of Morfitt's experience mess a opportunity up so badly like that, and he wouldn't be happy with that. Long kick out, Reimers puts it up high, got the breeze working for him somehow there. Nicholl shakes his head in disbelief. In the back of Arnold, the free kick, the Dogs have got it. And plenty of movement down ground, but everybody there. He looks short, he's got Casserly wide, ignores him, decides to go straight down the line on the boundary. Ingerson does well. He plays a bit like Darren Smith, doesn't he? He gets to the footy, brings it to ground. He's never outmarked, but he can be reasonably obtrusive. Great team player. That's not a bad kick. Inside, Wine will be run down, gets it in quickly. Backing back is Green on Rogers. Does well. He's a percentage player. Hannum, quick hands is good. The runner is Spear. He'll have to go long over the top of Stevens. He's got Neiman. Taylor or that's Wiedemann, and well done to hold up play. And 25, I'd say it's worthwhile.
I'd say it's worthwhile as well, because there were plenty of Eagles players ahead of the ball that could have got on the end of that one.
Short, well, not necessarily short, but beautifully put out to Nicholl. Now he's off 50. He has got Morfitt short and a chance to redeem himself from 35.
Yes, Scotty Morfitt nearly kicked 100 a couple of years ago for the Eagles. Very fine player.
99 indeed. Just missed out.
Pretty straightforward. Most players have had no trouble with the distance. The accuracy might beat him. It does to the left. And the second opportunity in front of goal, which you'd normally say of his experience, he would have done easily. 56 plays 44.
Just over 9 minutes into the third quarter of this most entertaining game, round 2 from Woodville Oval. And Healy's got it in the back pocket, having got it from Wakeland. Into the starting 18 today when Craig Potter pulled out. He's got a searching kick, hasn't he? Right up towards centre wing. Good period of play here for the Eagles. They throw it around as Nicholl gets it up towards Morfitt. Can't quite take it. Diving in is Casserly. Did it pretty intelligently as well. Got it out towards Schwert. The tackling and harassment from the Dogs at the moment is very, very good. Handball out from Zilla. Looks for Hannum and finds him. Stevens closes. Can't do much with it. Now Reimers smashes the ball. Goes towards the line. Healy works back. And he will dead set look for the line and find it.
He's picked him. How do they do it?
Only after the crowd had a shot, I'd say.
There must be something I don't know about that rule.
Well, I tend to agree with it. That was a superb decision, actually, because there's no way he made any attempt to keep it in play, but they do it so often.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. It's just that it's so inconsistent. They'll pay that, and then they won't pay the next one. Frustrating, isn't it, Stephen?
I'll tell you what, I've got a suggestion for you both. You could be AFL umpires for $1,000 a game. Pays, slides it across the front of goals and smash through for a behind.
$1,000 wouldn't give him 2 bob.
I couldn't believe that. $1,000 for a game of umpiring.
Well, yeah, I know one of the big scribes has said yes, they think it's a great idea because it'll make other people want to become umpires or better umpires. How good's that?
It's a big kick, isn't it? Oh, there's Pays, stands tall,
He's a good player, Hayes. Pretty strong contest. He and Healy, oh, beautifully put. And with the mark is that man, Andrew Taylor. Yet to kick a goal.
Well, he's hadn't had a big day thus far. This is his second kick. So he's only had one touch for the day, so not a good outing thus far.
No, as he comes in from 35 metres, and he's done exactly the same as Scotty Morford did just seconds ago. Pushed it a bit to the left. With that breeze up there, just gave it a little bit too much.
Probably wouldn't hurt to give him a run on the half-forward line at the moment, I think. Get him into the play.
Maybe not a bad idea either. Reimers thumps it out towards half-back. Now, that was in the back. Robins pushed the player. And it's Richardson, whose game last week Bulldogs officials described as probably his best game, despite the fact that he kicked a number of goals last year. His endeavour and work rate at half-forward last week was very good. Way over the top goes Ingerson. Look at that for a mark. One of the great things about Australian rules football is Anthony Ingerson takes a beauty, gets it away short towards Pyman, plays on immediately, thumps it up towards Coffey. It's going to go pretty close to the line. In fact, it's gone over and out of bounds on the full. So we've played, well, just over 12 minutes into the third quarter at Norwood Oval. The Redlegs are in front of the Tigers, would you believe, by 12 points. And it's a game that probably most scribes around town would have expected the Tigers to be in front. And Port Adelaide have bounced back at the moment against North Adelaide at Prospect Oval to be well in front, 7 odd goals. Healy, or was it Schwert? Schwert punches it back up there, and South Adelaide, of course, by 80 points at Football Park. Here's Coffey back at Woodville Oval. Yes, he's done it. Beautifully done by Coffey. 2 goals in the third quarter now for a total of 5. Central are 9-8. The Eagles are 6-10.
Grant Coffey on fire for the Bulldogs. And if we have a look at the contest, Schwert, probably his 25th touch for the game. Bombs it in long. He competes well, nearly grabbed that, but it's just popped up the back. He's turned around, just dribbled it through.
Big effort by Coffey, and having a real impact up forward. 9-8, the Dogs, they're 62. They lead the Eagles on their home ground, 6-10-46. That's the Eagles' home ground. They had the first 2 in a row. They beat North Adelaide here last week, and the Dogs triumphed over Nord at Elizabeth. Very important measure for the Dogs if they can get on top of last year's grand finalists. Been a very successful side, the Eagles. Winter's been there only 4 years, 3 years I should say, and coached them to the maximum number of grand finals, 4, for a 3-1 win-loss ratio. So he's done pretty well, hasn't he? The Eagles now towards centre-half forward. Taylor's caught behind. Healy gets a hand to it, pushes it to ground. Bit of a scramble, a mad scramble as Wakeland pushes it to out Schwert. Goes to the boundary. Taylor's there, though. Intercepts it. Hannum, or Neiman it is, in front position. Can't grab it. Gone missing since the first quarter. Morford. Zilla dances through the pack. Punches it towards goal. Not a bad individual effort, but he's a bit offline.
Not quite from Jason Zilla. They need some goals at the moment to bounce back as Reimers brings it in. Club's going to the far side. That's an action replay of just a couple of moments ago as Healy takes it in the back pocket. 9-8, plays 6-11. Daniel Healy with his 7th kick to half-back. Nichols the only one there. Flying from behind was Graham Woods. Comes back towards centre-half forward. Well done by Pyman, it looks to be. Sat himself in the front spot. He's strong. And it's very hard to get around a man like that with wide shoulders when he sits himself in the front spot. The kick carries 50 metres towards centre wing. Back of the pack is Green. He's got one spare in McGowan. If he can get it out, he can't do so. Big scrap of players. Sheldrick's been quiet today. Comes out to King. Across the top. And now they're away. Player on the far side. Hayden Robins kicked the goal in the first quarter. Inside half forward it goes, and Wakeland intelligently finds the line.
Well, Wakeland doing an absolutely marvellous job on Taylor at the moment. I think he's just a little bit too quick for him. And as I said, it might pay to just move them around a bit.
15 minutes gone. We're live at Woodville Oval, ABC exclusive. SANFL footy, Harada with the big punch. Wiedemann been busy. And the ball out of bounds. So, some Central supporters.
Bit of a his and hers look.
Yes, unisex.
Nickel and Ingerson. Hooray to there as well. Ingerson gets the knock, punches it back towards the line, and it's over the line. So 62, the Dogs. Plays the Eagles 47. Margin of 15 points. So they've got a fair lead in this third quarter. The Breezes picked up just a little bit, and the Eagles will have to push the pedal if they want to get the points at home today. Holding the ball to the screen. That'd make a good picture. I asked the umpire the question, and they get the reward.
Roger Girdham started in the forward pocket, I guess for two reasons. One, because his calf on, I think, the left leg is a little tender, and the other reason is to give Jim Wind a taste right from the start in the middle of the ground. He's done the roving duties with Jim and done it pretty well. Arnold, they need much more of that from him. And whilst this game has a lot more life left in it yet, things are looking pretty good for Centrals at the moment. Up towards centre half forward. Coffey laid it down. Got a big leap, not one clean take by Cook. If he had, they were away. Payes held on to him. No free kick given. The umpires are letting it go. Healy emerges with the ball, gets it out towards McGowan. In comes the Weed like a steam train. Gets it out. Number of players now. Weed gets it back. Hands it down. Morford. Payes from 50. Every good chance. Thumps it up towards the line. I think he might have got it. Yes, sir. So Payes, who looks a little sore at the 17-minute mark of the third term, gets his first, and the Eagles get a little closer. The Bulldogs 9-8. The Eagles are 7-11.
Andrew Payes, 14th touch for the game, fallen out of the game a little bit in that second term, but is a very fine player, captain the state, and the Eagles would be looking forward to a little bit more from him.
Easy running athlete, isn't he? Looks the part, has all the skills. Pretty happy with that as he works it through. 9-8, 7-11. So the Eagles close a little bit, and they're just the sort of players, Payes, Wiedemann and company, that they need back in the game. Hannam, we'd like to see do a bit more of for the Eagles too. Neiman didn't really commit himself to that ball in the same way you'd expect a man of his size to do it. Stands out over the play. Pesh works it out towards Wiedemann. Now Neiman from 50 metres. He goes bang in towards goal. It won't make the distance. And Big Rymers gets back and takes a pretty easy mark. Negri warming up on the boundary. He'll come back on and replace Nickel shortly, I would think. Playing their big men off the bench. The kick towards Nickel. But Arata was the target, obviously. Ziller in the way. Just holding up play and doing it pretty well. Casserly now, just to a pieman that was, puts it up high. Wiedemann holds front position on McGowan, loses it and then punches it away. King stays over the top of the footy. Has Robins inside. Ducks into it. Woods, clever, on the left boot. And the shepherd by Hannam was good to let Nickel in. Stevens works hard. He won't let the ball out of the air without a real scrap. Ziller, Wiedemann, back over the top, is brilliant because he knew he was a left footer and he picked him out on that basis, I am sure. Big jump, Ingerson. Opportunity, Pyman. Goal, is it? No touched.
Well, I tell you what, they're making hard work of it at the moment, the Eagles. Their touch isn't really good at this stage. They're not clean.
Ingerson gets it on the far side from Rymers. Critical time for Central District. Last week they got a 5-goal break on Norwood, and then they went to sleep. They allowed the Redlegs to kick 4 in a row and bounce back. Just at this present time, they're second to the ball. They're not really making things happen. They need to keep the foot on the accelerator. Wakeland towards centre wing. Here goes. He's going to be picked off by Rogers. Just a bit fumbly, isn't it? No, Butterfingers couldn't take it. Wiedemann. Well done, Stephen Schwert. Holds it up and we'll have a bounce down. Smack bang on centre wing, far side.
Well, the skipper and Rogers having a good tussle with Peter Green across the half-back line there.
Just need to keep their foot on it, the Bulldogs. Have a checkered history of getting in front and then letting it slip. Walker. They work it through Woods, it looked to be at half-back towards this grandstand half-forward flank. Ziller. Oh, there's a fumble by Hannam. Well, that could be a critical turnover because they swoop. A few Dogs off their leash now. Casserly got it out towards Green. Great vision. Has Girdham. Plays it on. Great work from the Bulldogs. Gets it across the top to Coffey, who bangs through number 6.
Well, Grant Coffey, he had a couple of walk-up starts like that last week. But great work by Stevens, just intercepted that ball. And Hannam, well, Bruce Winner not too happy about that. And Hannam's got the hook. And Koval just comes onto the ground for his debut for the Eagles.
Such a critical error, wasn't it?
Well, Exactly right. You run over the ball, and the doggies had players everywhere.
It was great work by Stevens. He really is a menace. When he doesn't want you to have it, he won't let you have it. 10-8, 68. The Dogs. The Eagles are 7-12, 54. A margin of 14 points again. Koval straight into the action. There he is. Got the red nut on. Puts it up high over the back of Payes. He stole it. Where
He's
from?
Payne hanging on.
Bit of magic. Payes, and he's penalised.
Let's have a look at that. There it was.
Yes, indeed. What sort of comment
Well,
was
I
that?
didn't see it.
We employ you to be special.
Yeah, give us
special
a
comment.
break.
McGowan has the ball. You're supposed to describe it to the viewers, Michael. On his left boot. Coffey, another chance. At the back, King does well, running over a line and doing it pretty well. They look a lot better now, the Eagles. Cleaner hands, people getting into space. Payes on the end of that 40-metre handball by Wiedemann. Centres the ball. Neiman back is Taylor. He's absolutely crashed through the pack. Reimers, he got it from a raider. Goes with the left boot towards Healy. Richardson's there. And over the line.
Well, just having a look at that, Andrew Taylor has jumped 6 back.
Was never going to mark
and was
it.
not going to get... Here we go. No, and he's hurt his shoulder on that one.
They do that pretty well, the Dogs. They work back in numbers into that defensive zone, and when they take possession, they fan out. So it's a pretty good game plan, and one that in round 2, just in round 2, has seen them have a bit of success, although they've got some distance to go here. 10-8 to 7-12. They've got their noses in front, and that gentleman's having a close-up view.
Any thoughts of moving someone different on the Coffey? Spears still there?
Well, I think Jason Spears is as good as it gets in terms of fullback, so I'd leave him right where he is. And as you're saying, if they can generate some more ball through the midfield, the Eagles, it won't matter because the ball won't end up down there.
They look all right, the Dogs, don't they?
They do. That man on screen is going to be very important to them because it gives them one extra. Now, Potter's not playing today, and the very point is that they won't have all of McGowan, Schwert, Girdham, Cook and Wind on song every day. So if they can have 2 or 3 or 4 of them out of the 6, then they're really going to do something very good this year, Central District, I think, and probably fulfil much of the expectation of Elizabeth.
When you see a player of his calibre come to off the ground is Jones, on his neck, when you see a player of that calibre, you think his career might be over, coming for other reasons than maybe to put the work in, but he does the work, doesn't he?
Well, he's got a great work ethic. He's a man who's head down and tail up, and we've seen him over many years at Fitzroy carve sides up by the fact that he just keeps burrowing in, and I think that at least, well, 2 or 3 good years if he wants to stay, that is, with Central. This is Neiman, goes in short, a little bit better, and he's got a former Western Australian in Greg Walker, who probably, to be fair to him, isn't going to carry the distance. Now, if you get it down there quickly, Greg, you've got a one-out situation. Wakeland sits in the front. He thumps it up there. Taylor gives himself a chance, but he's outnumbered. That's the benefit of slowing things down from the defensive side point of view. Through for one behind, so 7-13 plays 10-8.
He needs to get out on the lead, Michael.
Without a doubt. He needs to get out, give an option, and if he's not going to get it the first time, it gives him another 2 or 3.
Taylor's the player we're talking about, wanting it in high and long, not getting out and doing the hard work, providing the space. It is a very hard thing to do when you're at a full forward or forward pocket like that. Beautiful take, wrong way, Ingerson, to get into space. You've got to push and shove and scratch and bite and hold off and get the space. Really got to buy the space. And he's just not doing enough of that sort of work, Taylor. He's not giving them a target. Ingerson's mark was a beauty. Sends the ball back towards centre wing, and in front is Arnold. But it's out of bounds.
Well, one thing that Andrew Taylor really does rely on is the Eagles getting the ball across midfield so he can get hold of it in front, but that's just not happening today.
Over the back goes Robins and bashes it back towards the line. We'll have another boundary throw, and I had a chat with Anthony Ingerson on the way into the ground today. And we're into time on in the 3rd quarter, and Anthony was describing the difficulties of... we tend to overlook it a little bit now, but it's still a tough one. Training all week with the Crows, being given a call by, let's say in this case, the Central District coach on a Friday night, being told where you're going to play and not training with your mates during the week. So it's a pretty tough one, Michael.
Yeah, it'd be very difficult, and there's a few in the same boat, Stephen Rowe and a couple others that are fringe players, but if they get in the winning mode, then they fit in pretty well.
Just takes a little acclimatising, shall we say. Ingerson was, well, let's be fair to him, was just okay last week, and this week has been far more competitive, and in this term, a couple of very good marks. That man on screen's had an impact,
Roger Girdham. Well done by Sheldrick. The whistle's gone. Free kick. Is he going to say play on? No, he's not. He's going to go back. So Wind will take it. And with his 15th kick, will give the Bulldogs another chance. 80 metres out. That one carries about 50, so it puts him into about 30 metres away. Who's going to rove the front? Beautifully done by Cook. They didn't want to know about him. They should have nailed it. But didn't. Well, the thing that was surprising out of it, not so much the missing of the goal, but the lack of pressure.
Without any doubt at all, he just looked like there was a hole 10 foot wide to get through there. Let's have a look at it. He just strolled through there into an open goal and missed it.
Probably should have made them pay, and you can see that he's disappointed with it. Pesh gets it in the back pocket. Butterfingers couldn't quite take it. That was Wood, turns back, gets it inside the spear. And a comment that Michael made a moment ago about them making it tough for themselves. They continue to do so, the Eagles. McGowan has great situational awareness. He knew that Healy was there, but he couldn't get it out to him. Now here's a chance. Walker, the clean take is okay. Gets it away towards Robins, a bounce. Could probably take a second or a third. Decides he's got an option, puts it up towards Ziller. Well taken by Wakeland. Great mark.
Wakeland being one of their best has held Taylor to goalless, I think, at this stage, and almost kickless.
And I think that Ziller was the target, but it was always going to be a tough one. The little bloke, diminutive as he is, gave himself a chance, presented himself, but it was going to be a tough one to take. Wakeland goes across the face of goals, gets it towards Richardson, who takes a good mark as well. You'd have to say one thing about the Bulldogs, they've got a bit in the air. Richardson, Coffey, Windsor's sitting on the bench at the moment.
Arnold.
Lures to come back into the side.
They have got plenty of height.
They've got plenty of ability to take a mark. And we've already discussed the fact that they've got good runners as well. So at the moment, if you're a Central District supporter, you should have at least a little optimism. Wind, left leg, then right, gets it away. Little turbocharge push and got away. Pesh, half back to the centre of the ground now. Setting himself was Ingerson, just needed to keep it in front. Herrera's rebound, absolutely magnificent. McGowan, look at that for vision to Green. Now Green should finish it off. Peter Green from 48 metres out, just enough pressure. Was well done, well run down by Colville. Just enough pressure to push it offline and through for one behind.
And again, Stephen, they're the little things that win football matches, although the Eagles not in a position at that moment. But the young tacker really did push hard and didn't give Green any time at all to straighten up.
It was a great kick, wasn't it, from McGowan, who just knew that the player was out there on half forward. Robins, Walker. Oh, gee, they're making a mess of it at the moment. It's not quite the clean and concise Eagles side that we've been used to. Middle of the ground, Rogers. Hands it off. Now here's a bit of good work from Colville. The umpire should call play on and does. The whistle's gone. Now what that did was disadvantage the Eagles. They stopped, and the only man who kept an eye on the ball was Wakeland. Now he's got Stevens on the close side. Comes into him, takes it beautifully. He's got a paddock to work in, and a couple of spares as well. One Schwert, the other one is Green. He'll use the former. 80 metres out, looks for and doesn't find Coffey this time. It's a good mark taken by Spear.
Yes, Spear had it pretty hard on to Devine. Devine's got put him under an awful lot of trouble, but pops it out to Koval. And he plays on, no pressure there, but he's got no one to kick to. Round the body, brings across to the centre, could be in trouble here, but Stuart Nicol takes a good grab. He's got out wide, and there's the siren to bring it to three-quarter time. The Bulldogs, again, a good third term, 10-10, lead the Eagles 7-13.
And it was an 18-point advantage to the Eagles at the end of the first term. The Bulldogs turned it around, did pretty well. A 24-point turnaround to have their noses in front by one goal at half-time. And they went on with the job. And with his comments on the third term, here's Michael Ashe.
Yes, the Bulldogs, again, as we said, their big men are really taking control of this game. Bruce Winter opted to keep his forward line set up as it was in that first half, and really hasn't got anything at all. The on-ballers from Central Districts are taking control, and Grant Coffey is the focal point up for it. Very dangerous in the air and on the ground. He's kicked 5-3 for the day, so he is really creating a few headaches, not only for Eagles, but for Jason Spear.
So three-quarter time at Woodville Oval. The margin is 15 points in favour of the Doggies. And stay with us. We'll be right back on your ABC.
Yes, and don't forget, all the matches we cover during the year are available on video from the ABC shops. And it's the ABC match of the day. If you can't get into the ABC shop, call 343 46.01. Well, the doggies, David Mackay joins me on the boundary. David, the dogs have trailed by 18, led by 6 and now 15. And before you take us into the highlights, it's interesting, isn't it? They've kept last year's grand finalist to 2 goals for the last 2 quarters and built it on 8 themselves. Good performance.
Yes, I think we were perhaps predicting it at half-time. They're in pretty good fettle. They had the Eagles measure, and the Eagles needed to come out and do something solid in that third quarter. Perhaps take some bodies, take the initiative away from Centrals. And I think, frankly, Grant Coffey did a terrific job at full forward. A couple of the things he did were very, very athletic. And you'll see amongst these highlights, Neville, that the package of Grant Coffey is the star of the show.
Arnold did it pretty well, got it to Schwert, bit of free movement now, gets it in short, beautiful pass, and it's well taken by Grant Coffey, about 45 metres out. The head needs to stay down, kick through the footy. It's not a bad looking kick either, right up towards the line. I think it might be shepherded through. The umpire's had a good look, watch this. Up towards centre half forward, Coffey laid it down, got a big leap, not one clean take by Cook. If he had, they were away. Payes held on to him. No free kick given, the umpires are letting it go. Healy emerges with the ball, gets it out towards McGowan. In comes the Weed like a steam train, gets it out. Number of players now, Weed gets it back, hands it down, Morford. Payes from 50, every good chance, bumps it up towards the line. I think he might have got it. Yes, sir. They work it through Woods, it looked to be at half back towards this grandstand half forward flank. Zilla. Oh, there's a fumble by Hannum. Well, it could be a critical turnover because they swoop. A few dogs off their leash now. Castley got it out towards Green. Great vision. Has Gurdon. Plays it on. Great work from the Bulldogs. Gets it across the top to Coffey, who bangs through number 6.
Yes, and Grant Coffey certainly the player to stop if the Eagles are going to win this game. And the scores here at Woodville Oval, we can see 18-point margin in favour of the Eagles first quarter. They got back, turned it around by 24 points to lead by 6, and they lead by 15 at three-quarter time, the Dogs.
And having a look at the goals, well, Coffey, he's kicked 6-2, Stevens 3, the main goal scorers. And for the Eagles, well, not too good. Neiman 2, and singles to Jones, Robbins, Nicol and Zilla. And the stats, well, they should be all the Bulldogs' way. Reasonably close, 130 to 38. The handballs, well, look at that. Eagles by about 20 more, but the Dogs much more precise. The Eagles really can't find anything at this stage.
Yeah, getting the free kicks. The Dogs, they're playing in front, there's no doubt about that. Well, former Crows skipper and South Australian skipper and Glenelg skipper, one of the South Australia's most popular players, Chris McDermott, is at Norwood Oval today playing with Glenelg against Norwood. It's his first game in the SANFL since the Crows were formed in 1991. And Stephen Trigg, isn't it unusual to see him in that jumper, but it'll be very, very important for the Glenelg fans to see him there today.
Oh, they'd love him to be out there. I'm sure that it'll only be for a short period of time, but it doesn't seem like just 5 minutes ago that I remember him playing in that jumper. I'll tell you something interesting about him. He decided to make a cut when he joined the Crows that he would not go back to the Glenelg Football Club. Now, he goes to games and so forth, but Neville, he hasn't walked into the club since he left.
Is that right? It's interesting, isn't it? He's been the most, probably the most high-profile Crows player since they started.
Doesn't mean that he's not a club man, a great club man, one of the best, and he's a beaut bloke. But the bottom line is that he decided, well, I need to make the break. I won't interfere. He's walked back into the club today. He'd know a few of the blokes out there, including that man on screen at the moment, Mark Viska, who's a Crows teammate. But bottom line for him is that he wouldn't know too many out there.
No, it'll be very interesting to see how he fared today, and we'll try and find out that just a little bit later. David Mackay still on the boundary line. David, have the Eagles got much more gas if they put on the pedal?
I think they have, Neville. One of the things about the Eagles, and you'll know about Bruce Winter's squad, they'll never give up. This game, even if the Eagles lose by 5 or 6 goals, they'll be battling it right out to the finish. They'll be beaten by a better side if that happens, but I've not yet, in the 4 years that the Eagles have been born, seen an Eagles side that's laid down in the last quarter. They really do, as part of their makeup, they fight it right out to the finish.
OK, we expect that, but as we've said today, the new breed that Stewart's got at Elizabeth, they won't give up either. I mean, they will smell victory from here, surely.
Oh, yes. They've never won against the Eagles. They've never won here since the Eagles were formed. So I heard Alan Stewart say, fellas, it's about time we had a win here. Knocked them off on their own dunghill. And I think he meant it. I think there was a big roar that went up from the players as soon as he said that. So I think they're pretty pumped up to make sure they take home the bacon. And remember, they started this well last year. They, I think, won 6 out of their first 7. They only lost the first game of the season against Port Adelaide. I think they were thumped by about 46 points in the opening match of last year. So they're very eager to put themselves on target this year for a grand final berth.
In a word, You're tipping?
No, I think the Central side from here can win it. The Eagles, I think, need to get a lot more physical.
Okay, we're ready to go for the live last quarter of the match between the Dogs and the Eagles. Your commentator is Stephen Trigg.
We're just about set. I can tell you one thing. Jason Spears from the ground with what looks like an adductor strain, so Graham Woods has gone to full back. ABC Sport bringing you live this last term, and don't leave us because this game is far from dead and buried. The Bulldogs will hold on if they possibly can, but the Eagles, as David Mackay was saying, have a great history of bouncing back, and let me tell you, 15 points in this game is a cinch. Robins will get on the first exit from centre square, comes to grandstand side. He's got Nickel, the pass isn't bad, and Stewie can take it. Does pretty well. Not a lot of movement ahead of the play, though. He wouldn't be that confident because Herrera's stood firm there. Well done. Beautifully taken by Pyman. He probably could have heard the number or the size 13s of David Neiman closing in on him. Centre wing, good mark taken by Robins over the top. The umpire didn't agree, said play on. Hannam got it from Wiedemann, and this is Andrew Pay's hands off. Just a little slow motion at the moment. Zilla, and again it's been picked off. Well, those entries are very unclean.
Well, definitely picked up. Wakeland's reading the ball very well, but Taylor continues to play from behind.
But even his assessment of it, he's dirty on the kick in. Like he's criticising players up the field. Not doing the work.
It's been an interesting facet of Grant Coffey's play over the years is that he's been second to the footy a lot of times playing in the forward line, and that's frustrated the daylights out of a series of coaches. But as you mentioned through that last term, he's got himself on track at the moment and is playing beautifully.
Cook puts it into space, and the runner is Divine. If he can get there before the boundary line, Girdham sets out after him. He's giving himself a fair task, though. Peeling off was Rogers. He knew he had it all sewn up, didn't go to help, and that was pretty intelligent. Short, used the ball well. Wiedemann wants to get on with it, puts his teammate under all sorts of pressure, but they work it out. The kick is okay. Ends up with Robins through the centre of the ground. This time, Negri. Taylor needs to go to help. He's going to let him fight it out with Reimers and Wakeland alone. He comes in later. Wakeland goes to ground, and gangly, but a very effective defender, is Wakeland.
Wakeland, along with Reimers, both very, very good backline players at this stage for the Bulldogs.
Well, the Eagles set themselves to win their first 6 in a row. If they're going to keep on track for that sort of objective, they've got some work to do. Nick Pesh round the body, not nearly far enough, and it's gone across the line, out of bounds on the full. 10-10 to 7-13. Still 15 points the difference, and as you would expect, a little fluky breeze springing up from right to left, so it will help the Bulldogs and mean that the Eagles will have to work extra hard to wipe off that 15-point deficit and get their noses in front. The Wine kick carried probably 50 metres with it. Wasn't bad. Herrera, who stood tall at centre-half back. He's done pretty well. Loss of feet means no further part in the action from an Eagles player. Comes out towards Stevens. Free-range movement through the midfields. Not bad. Beautifully taken by Woods. Plays it on. Goes towards the far side, and he's got Wiedemann. Jumper out, and the bike pants on underneath. Gets it to Colville. That's a bit sloppy. Picked off by Girdham. Comes back to Colville. A little fortuitously, I'd imagine. Smashed forward. Gives Wind a chance. He reads the ball well, doesn't he? Gets himself in just the right spots. That's a bit better from Taylor. If he can hand it off this time, Pesh, he can't. Walker was just a bit slow. That's a throw. No problem with that. He didn't have a lot of choice. One arm was held, and Casserly was pinged for holding the ball. Watch how easy it happens. Oh, be all right in rugby, but unfortunately it's a different code.
15 points.
Well, 15 points in it. And Walker hasn't had one of his big days.
Sorry, Michael, I thought that you were asleep for a moment. I was just mistaken. Walker. Kick number 8. Want to be a good one, and it is. You can never write off this Eagles side. Walker puts it through and gives them a chance. They go along to 8-13, and they trail Central District 10-10.
Well, when you really analyse the game, you would have thought that the Bulldogs would have been about 3 or 4 goals in front, and the Eagles have not played at all well. Neville.
No, they haven't. I don't think they've been let play well. They haven't handled the pressure of the Dogs as well as you might expect. I know it's still March, 10-10-70. The Eagles are 8-13-61, so 21 shots to 20. They've been around the place. They're just not as many conversions. Not a lot in it, though. Anybody's game. And Ingerson wants it to be there. Stevens goes back with McGowan, likes to use the foot. He's got Squirt on his left, decides to go right and long to Coffey. Why not? Have a look at that. Super catch. And McGowan's confidence buoyed by a great catch.
And favours himself at the minute. Coffey can kick a long ball. I don't know from that side of the ground whether he'll get the distance. I just worry about the accuracy.
So he's kicked 3 in the second, 3 in the third for 6, 1 out of bounds on the full and a couple of points in that. It'll go very close. Big catch in the square. And Nicol got back to help out his defenders.
So just 9 points in it. The game's alive at the moment. Robins gets it. Beautiful smother. The little things, the little 1%ers that win football games, and that's the sort of ticket to win it for them. The Bulldogs keeping a play on it inside that half-forward line. David Mackay, you've got an injury report for us, I understand, down on boundary side.
I have, Stephen. Let's shoot for goal as he lines him up. He's drilled it just to the left. Sorry about that, but I should just report that Sam Jones has a hamstring strain and will take no further part in this match for the Eagles. And the other player on the bench is Jason Spear, who has a thigh damaged, and he has that heavily strapped and iced, and he'll take no further part in this match.
Yes, I saw Spear coming off and holding the inside of the leg. Thanks for taking up the call for just a moment there, DB. Good mark taken by Healy, plays it on. Gets it to Pyman, and the umpire was in error because he called play on after the mark was taken. Coffey hits him on the nose and still takes the mark, gets the free kick, whichever you like.
Well, Grant Coffey, he's come of age, I think, this year. I know it's only his second round, but really he's competing for every ball that comes his way, albeit the discipline on some occasions isn't all that good.
Kicked 13 goals in an opening round a couple of years ago. Lays back, and that's where he lets himself down. His 7th goal went missing, went begging. Should have nailed it. A little disappointed with himself, but it's just a simple technical problem. You lay back like that, and the ball slews off the side.
It does, and he's kicked 6-3.
The ball back into play. Nicol underneath it, can't quite take it. It's loose. The Eagles want to turn up the heat. Zilla tries to get in there. Ingerson steals it, punches it back underneath it. Wrong way, Girdham. She was going to go for it too. And back there, taking a good chest mark under a lot of pressure was Graham Woods.
It's tough, isn't he, Girdham? You've got to admire that.
Yes, he's one of those players that he makes the decision, doesn't he? It just doesn't matter what the risk is. Personal conservation, out the door, line. Had a big day. Talked about him earlier. A good get for the Dogs. Sends a big torp in. Don't see many of them these days. Oh, off the hands. I thought that was a dog mark. Graham Woods again there. Takes the second mark in just as many seconds. Hannum punches one short, dangerously close to the line. Double catch. So he's fumbled it and fumbled it over the line. Watch it, Michael.
Let's have a look at it. Well, he looked like he took it to me. He still had hold of it.
Well, the umpire couldn't have been in a better position.
Well, that's what they get paid for. 500, isn't it?
Puts one up high. Oh, you're very difficult to work with sometimes. Forfeit, and the free kick will go to the Dogs. This is Ingerson. Right arm strap, elbow that is. And he'll use his left boot. Reimers gives him something to the right. That's where he goes. And way out. You want to get this ball because he has got play. He's got Taylor, his left Taylor, his left Nicol. And they win it out. So he backed himself in. Hereda came up to help him. Bang, Coffey, 2 grabs, he's got it.
Well, Grant Coffey has caught it about 3 times today, cannot do anything wrong, and was never going to miss that grab.
Very important kick this, because the next goal is so important. If the Eagles can get it down to the other end and bring themselves back in to a goal of difference, or inside a goal of difference, they'll be fine. But this will give them 3 straight kicks clear the difference.
6. He's made it 7. He could be a 100-goal kicker, Coffey. He could lead this side into a grand final, something they desperately want.
Yes, Grant Coffey. Well, he'll be the mayor of Elizabeth this week. He's been a fine player today, as has the whole Central District club. And Coach Alan Stewart, well, still not finished yet, the Eagles, but a long way to get back.
Not sure that Grant Coffey has mayoral aspirations, but having a look at the statistics, the Centrals are in front in terms of kicks and marks.
They haven't overused the handball today. And strangely, for a side that's played in front for most of the day, they've given away more free kicks. 11-12, they've got their noses in front though. The Eagles are 8-13. Another entry in towards that full forward area. Girdham, so desperate, really sets this side alight. Well done to Colville, gets it out towards the far side for the Eagles. Not a bad patch of work either. Zilla, couple of short steps, gets it up towards the full forward line. Now they need Romy to take a mark. He can't do that. That's a big swipe from the ground, not taken. Series of work. Romy gets it out. There's still a chance here through Walker. Can he get it around quickly enough? I think a little pirouette did it pretty well. Handed it back to Romy. Long way down, throws it away. Now they need some support down there. It doesn't come, and so Ingerson flees the scene. Gets it up towards half-back. And Stephen Schwertz. So the turnover means that now Central District have the free players. They get it to centre wing. McGowan. Great courage. Another turnover. They hand it out. Gets it back towards Pesh. Full forward line, not taken. The pressure's on the Bulldog defence. Jason Zilla thumps it up. One step, 50 metres the ball carries. Romy, can you take it? He can't quite. Nichols there. He can kick goals, but he won't kick this one because it's gone to the ground. There's Wakeland. Gee, where are the Eagles down there? They're not putting enough pressure on, but here's a chance. Taylor, one step, and he's missed. It's a confidence thing.
It is, and that's been their tale for the day. It might have been touched off the boot. Taylor grabbed the ball, played on, and really having Romy Negri up there at forward line, no agility really whatsoever, so they've got to kick it high and hope he grabs it.
Yes, they're short of players, and in a bit of strife here on their home ground. Here on ABC Sport, we're live and exclusive, and if there was any prize for acting, I think Hayden Robbins might have been retarded, but not that much. He'll get that prize. Here he is. Centre wing, and has 17 and 12, 29 touches. He's been busy, hasn't he? Chance for Neiman, nothing. Morfitt, can't. Neiman again. Pesh needs help. They can't hit a body with anything. They cannot find the same jumper. Beautiful smother. Healy off pace.
Second time that he's done it this quarter.
Coach Alan Stewart would be absolutely wrapped with the desperation of his side today.
So Cook off the ground too. They've done pretty well if they can bring him off. He hasn't been too bad.
And Jared Cotton has gone on for him. Central District need to beat these top sides if they're going to be a contender this year. Did the legs last week, and this would be a great feather in their cap. Never beaten this grand finalist side from the last 2 years. Let's go out to Norwood Oval, and we've got the Redlegs in front by 16 points. A little bit of punching of the air here by some biased cohorts that I have. Port Adelaide, look at that for a margin against North Adelaide. 71 points the difference. Well, they've bounced back beautifully. And it's oft said, of course, that they don't lose too many times, twice in a row, the Maggies. And South Adelaide are giving Sturt a proverbial bath by 80 points at Football Park.
What were you punching the air for then?
Oh, was not. That's unfair. And it's not true. And my solicitor's name is.
Forward pocket opportunity, and it's over the line. So the Eagles, they need to do something. A couple of worried supporters, and not half as worried as Coach Bruce Winter would be, or former full forward Scotty Morfitt. They need to do something, and now's not a bad time. We're about 10 minutes into this this final quarter. Ingerson holds on to it. They'll dearly hold on. They can smell a victory away from home.
I don't think there's any doubt today, Neville, the Dogs have been the better side.
Still plenty of time, though. I mean, you just could not say that the game's dead and buried. Just 16 points in it. We're 13 minutes into the final term. And the Eagles just need a couple of quick ones. We know too well that that's probably only 3 minutes of footy. Here's Robins breaking through. Has done enough to suggest that he's going to be a valuable player. Not quite by Nickel. I suspect that the ball came through a pack of hands and took him somewhat by surprise. We'll have a bounce down, will we? Yes, sir. About 30 metres out, or perhaps 25 metres out from the Eagle goal.
They've been impressive, that central defence, haven't they? They just stay at it all the time, and with the help they get from their wingmen coming down and run-on players, they're very impressive behind centre. This is McGowan from the 50 on defence, nicely put, and he finds
Jared Cotton, I think.
Jared Cotton. Not, yes it is indeed, and I have to look to another set of numbers for him. Not recognising him, so midway through the final term, really anybody's game, but the Eagles just not doing enough in my book at the moment. Opportunity for Cotton there, goes to ground. They'll try and hold this ball up, I reckon, Michael. They'll just sort of they won't play a pretty style of footy. You can see Swert there now. I mean, they'll play defensively, they'll knock it to the boundary line, they'll hold the footy in, jump on it.
Well, the players like Schwert, Stevens, Wind, they are dogged players and they're just at it like the whole side has been today.
It's just hard to see where the Eagles are going to get their spark from at the moment. They have enough good players, but nobody seems to have that little sparkle at the moment just to ignite them and get their side going. Central District, I'm sure that Alan Stewart at three-quarter time would have been imploring upon his players to keep at it. We need to beat this side, get the monkey off the back, as it were. McGowan, nice little feint. He has great skills, can't quite find the mark this time. Jason Zilla's having to track a long way to get himself some touches. Hannum, deep in the back pocket, thumps it out towards the line. That's a pretty good mark. That's a great mark, taken by Damien Arnold at half forward. Not a great number of possessions for him, but in terms of hit-outs, he's done pretty well, sitting up there at about 14 or 15. Thumps it back in towards the full forward line. Ingerson attacks the football with some fervour. Wind, I really like him in that Bulldog Guernsey at the moment. He's complemented his catalyst very well. Pays again misses the mark. Robins can't do anything about it, and we'll have a boundary throw in on the far side.
He's fitted in very well, hasn't he?
Well, I think he looks great. I like the way that he plays. I think that a lot of teammates around him at Fitzroy and now at Central District already, you can tell, they take example. The head down, the tail up, hard-working ethic. And the thing I like about him at the moment is he's still working hard. Here he is again. 18th touch for the day for him. Gets it in towards full forward. They've got another chance here with a free kick, and it'll go to McGowan.
So Ricky McGowan, favourite for last year's medal, or one of them anyway, gets so many kicks, puts it in long, out on a lead, almost green, pushed and will get it. Well, this will be very significant. If he kicks this goal, you can just about say the Eagles are very close to out of this game. Not much in it, but enough to get a free kick. And the umpire thought it was significant enough. So Green yet to kick a goal, test the breeze, ex-Carlton player. I was impressed with him last week at Elizabeth when they took on the Norwood Redlegs and beat them at Elizabeth. He'll kick from 20. Stiff angle. Oh, he hasn't made any mistakes with that. That is a very valuable goal. The Eagles are going to do anything, Michael. They've got to do it right now. His first.
Well, they've had no momentum at all during the day. Central District's really had it all. And Green have been a fine recruit for the Bulldogs. Reminds me a little bit of Richard Osborne at Blonde Lock. Look.
Good call. He does. I bet the Bulldogs would be pleased if he could play nearly as well. He slotted in okay in the first 2 weeks. 17 and a half minutes on the ABC scoreboard into this last term, and we've got 12-12 to 8-14. It means that the Eagles are going to have to kick 4. They're a small chance. You'd never write them off as Neiman puts it up towards the 50-metre line, but as I was saying, where does the spark come from? That's the problematical thing at the moment. Wiedemann shovels it forward. Rogers, not quite the leg speed to go with Healy, but did it well, didn't he? Just put his body in the right place, plays it on to Hannum. The run was provided by Neiman but ignored. It goes up towards full forward. Stevens, structurally in terms of that wing play, is very good. He gets inside half-back. Reimers, the rebound to Cotton. Gets it back. Beautiful looking short pass to Arnold. They've done everything okay today. The doggies back towards Cotton. Awkward looking left leg that time. Is going to give Coffey a challenge. And one that he can't quite accept this time. It goes across the line.
Yes, well, Cotton hasn't played a lot of footy for the Dogs, but you might find it hard to find a consistent place in the side this year.
Well, when you consider that they've got Potter to come back into this side, Lewis, they've got Windsor sitting on the bench, there's a bit of quality there, and things are looking okay for them.
Wiedemann close to the line. The chance for Swert, he punches it in. Richardson, clever take, gives it back. Wind, he'll make himself a hero. They've stitched up the Eagles away from home. The first time since the merger of this club, and he's very pleased about it too. The Eagles are 8-14, the Dogs are 13-12.
And Jimmy Wind, well, he's come over, big name recruit, and has done exceptionally well with his first game for the Dogs. 27 touches, kicks goal number 1, and Adam Richardson too, doing great work across the half-forward line this year.
Jim Wind could well make himself the most prized recruit for 1995, and this is one of the best ways of integrating yourself into a club, when you bury the nose of the opponent into the ground. 13-12, plays 8-14, and we came up to 20 minutes. Centrals are barnstorming their way towards a first victory over an old foe, or a 4-year-old foe.
that they've not been able to beat. This is King up towards half forward. They're going to get out of this, the Eagles. They want to do it with a series, a real rush, 3 or 4 in a row. Good mark taken by Nickel. Here's another entry for them, and once again we had Wakeland sitting in front, Healy with courage working back, but the key symptom was that Taylor was sitting behind.
And nobody stands the mark. It's a real mistake, isn't it? They're out. They're just off today, the Eagles, just off. They've had 22 scoring shots against 25, so they've had enough of the footy. They've only kicked 3 goals since quarter time. They've built it on 11, the Dogs, though. Wakeland, contest with Taylor. No contest there. Bang, Girdham. Cop that. Beautifully done on that occasion by Robbins. He's been in everything. Busy player, Michael.
Good player, 30 touches for the day. Clumsy tackle. But Girdham, I think he just slipped as he went forward.
He's a very resilient man, is Roger Girdham. I saw him limping around the Central District club rooms last Saturday night. You'd swear that he wouldn't walk again. Let alone front up 7 days later. I don't know, maybe you get a bit softer when you've been out of this business for a while, but he's bounced back pretty well. This is Cotton up towards half forward. Arnold takes it. Or did he? He didn't. Spoiled away just at the critical moment.
Well, that's just that new doggy power out there. That strength, new resolve.
Might be the strength that you've provided. You've seen just about every match that they've played in the last 15 months. Did you address the cheer squad last week or not?
No, I didn't quite get there. They were disappointed, but there's all I'm guaranteed to be out there again.
I bet they're disappointed, but not for a reason.
On today's performance, you'll be there every week for the next 2 years.
Jim Wind, another possession for him, in towards Coffey. And Coffey has 14 kicks. Would you believe he's got 10 marks to his name? And look at that for a statistic. 7 goals and a chance to kick number 8 from somewhere around, well, let's say 40 to 45 metres out. He's a pretty good kick. He'll put it through way above the post, I'd imagine. That's a great kick. Absolutely superb. He gets number 8 on the board, and the Bulldogs are really steamrolling their way towards a marvellous victory here at Woodville Oval. 14-12. Plays 8-14.
Well, it makes a difference when the side's got a focal point, and the Bulldogs today and last week have certainly got that, as we hear that mighty Central District's jeer or chant, is it? That's better. The mighty Bulldog chant.
Well, they've got good reason to, haven't they? They lead 14-12 to 8-14, and they're kicking away from last year's grand finalists. Neiman in ruck now, couldn't find Zilla. Straight down to Green. He puts the ball in towards half forward. A chance for Devine. Basketballs us back to himself. Opportunity there. Gone wanting for King. Around the corner. A chance now. Running away with it is Woods. This is Graham Woods. Wiedemann. Been quiet since early in the first quarter. Caldwell gets it back to Wiedemann, and he tries to punch one in. Beautifully done off a half back line by Herrera. Wiedemann follows up and again puts one in high. Ingerson dropping back, give good support in front of Negri and takes a good mark. He looks inside for a runner. He's got one in Wakeland, but he's too far away. Goes back down the line, and it's a pretty easy take on the far side of the ground, and that is Jared Cotton. Just on the ground, goes inside, loose. This is David Green. Off half-back, McGowan. Watch for Coffey. The kick is good enough. The catch is even better. He's just hot, isn't he?
Well, they kicked 10 the way that they're going, and they're looking for him at the moment. Just going through my mind that when you're on top of a side like this, with great respect, it's very easy. The real test for Coffey is going to become, and I'm sure that Alan Stewart's acutely aware of this, when they're tight and they need him to kick 4 or 5 in a really big game. That's going to be the acid test for Big Coff.
Yeah, I think you're right in so much as handling pressure and being a player to actually drive them rather than be just at the end of their good work. He'll kick from 35. The big fella has 8 already. He won't add to it. It's been offline just a little. I think he's kicked about 4 points, 1 out on the full. But in a day when you've got so much of the footy, you can afford to miss him.
Well, he's kicked his leg off, and what's impressed me about the Bulldogs is their willingness to not only compete but play in front.
I don't know if you practice those sayings, but he's got 2 legs on out there, you know. 3 in the second, 3 in the third, and 2 in the fourth for Coff. So he's done okay. Here's another chance. Arnold gets it forward towards Wine. He's a chance to kick his second in the last quarter, but he's missed.
They're so loose, the Eagles, on their home ground. They can't pick up anybody.
And the thing about it is that, speaking to Peter Schwartz, they lack that depth. Where are they going to get the replacements from? Paul Chapman played in the reserves. but there's no ability to just be taking someone from reserves and putting them up, or at least en masse anyway, as Richardson gets it at about 40 metres out.
Well, you're right, Stephen, and really when you look at their reserves, the tradition continues out here. Neville with Aldo Floriani's son fronting up, Scott Freeburn, brother of, and also Michael Filippo.
It's good to see the sons of making their entrances. Been plenty of them. Richardson.
The other one that I missed probably is Rowan Thorne, who's a ready-made league player, and looked to get a few touches in the resis as well.
They've got some depth, the Dogs, and as we said earlier, the Eagles maybe just thinning out a bit since that merger. Tried to nurse it a little bit. Gently in he goes and misses to the left. So Richardson on that occasion kicked on 80-odd last year, and not a bad player off the bench that he's played last week. I'd like to see him on the ground full-time, just like today.
I wonder if he's had a change of mind. Last year he had a run-up that went almost the distance of the ground. It was like a 747 in motion on the runway, but just a little shorter than it would seem. We haven't seen him with too many set shots. Pays gets it on centre wing. The run from Zilla's pretty good. The kick is pretty average, and it's taken by Justin Casserly, who's been resolute in a back pocket. And I guess after 2 games, you wouldn't say that he's cemented a place, but hasn't done himself any harm either. Arnold overran the ball. A little flick on by Richardson. It's okay if there's someone there, but on this occasion, it's only the veteran and Andrew Rogers. Swings it back to the infield. Look at this from Stevens, who picks it off. He'll hand it off. Here's Wind again, getting on the end of them. Puts down the short ones and then pumps it up towards the full forward line. Coffey, just a little laconic, lays it down, looking for some assistance. So he's bundled out of the way by Woods, who looked to throw that, if you don't mind. Hand it off in the end to Rogers. Gives it back to Woods, and they come up towards half-back. Hannum it was who took it down there. Lewis, beg your pardon, Healy to David Green, and Green from 55 just tried to kick the leather off that ball, and it's gone down towards the forward pocket where Woods gives himself a chance. 2-on-1, it's not fair, is it? Hands it across the top. Gives Devine a chance, and that is unforgivable. Just picked off too easily by David Green.
Well, the delivery today has been poor all day.
Mostly with pressure. But on that occasion, there wasn't any heat on at all in the kitchen, and it was just a shocking error. Now, Sheldrick has been very inconspicuous to Colville. There's another function of the pressure. A bevy of Bulldogs there. Look at them, red, white and blue everywhere. The doggies out of their kennel. Now, here's McGowan with a chance from 60 metres out, and that one's picked off as well. Player on the far side looking for a stretch is number 4, who, of course, is Jim Wind, with a little cramp at the moment. Well done by Rogers. He's a class act. Gets it back towards Zilla. This is Pesh. His lookalike is Pays. And I suspect that breeze is worth just a little more than we were anticipating at the moment, because they're having trouble kicking into it.
Well, they are. When you have a look at the way they've brought that ball down, then Taylor just leading right to the wing. No directness whatsoever.
27.5 minutes into the last term, and the Bulldogs have got it stitched up. They'll celebrate tonight at Elizabeth. This is the prize scout that they wanted. Unable to beat this nemesis side, the Eagles, over the last 4 years. They've finally broken through, and they've done it in great style. 14-15 to 8-14, 29 shots to 22. And I reckon it's fairly much indicative of the day out that the doggies have had. Girdham, a little bit of body work. Couldn't keep out the barnstorming weed, brings it back to the head of the square intelligently, gives Colville a chance if he can get around. This would be a miracle goal if he could get it, young fellow. He can't do so. Out of bounds on the full. And the eyes cast around the ground, and there are a few triumphant Bulldogs punching the air. They're pretty happy about that one. Alan Stewart's out of the box quickly. He's having a great time. And with 2 wins from 2 games, they've done it pretty well. The final score, Central District 14-15. Great victors over the Eagles 8-14. Michael Ashe, how did you see it?
Well, obviously the Bulldogs will be very happy. They really did control the game all day today. The Eagles had a lot of players down on form, and their on-ballers in particular. Zilla tried hard all day, but really was overtaken by the likes of Stephen, Schwert, Wynne, McGowan, the whole lot of them. And they played exceptionally well. And when you've got a folk on, as we called it, with Grant Coffey kicking 8 for the day up forward, you really can't go past it. The Eagles, as we call it, they've lost a lot of players. They have to regroup. Look forward to next week, but I'm sure with a coach like Bruce Winter, they'll make some changes.
And speaking of coaches, Alan Stewart must be terribly buoyed. There's great expectation at Elizabeth, but he'd breathe a little easier just after 2 wins from 2 games. David Mackay has him on the boundary.
Thanks, Triggy. Yeah, Alan, congratulations. Terrific win for the club.
Yeah, I think that's a good performance from the players. Showed a bit of maturity. Once the Eagles got 5 goals to 2 in the first quarter, it was going to take a bit of composure to get back into the game, and I thought we did that well.
Yeah, well, I think that was the real test of the club, wasn't it? Because at that stage you could have thrown away the game, dropped your heads, but they fought back beautifully.
Yeah, I think that to the players' credit, they realised they didn't play all that badly in the first term, but they were able to get some important possessions early in the second quarter, and I thought as a team they combined very well for the rest of the day.
We've spoken about character at the club. I think one of the characters that have been tested is Grant Coffey. He only played 6 league games. You seem to have lost faith in him last season, yet you bring him back. He kicked 4 for you last week, and something like 8 goals, 5 from 13 scoring shots or 14 scoring shots today.
Yeah, well, Grant Coffey, Coff knows what I want him to do, and today you saw Coffey much more competitive at full forward. When he was caught behind a few times, he brought the ball to the ground, he chased, did all the things that we asked Coff to do. He even gave a couple of handballs off. That's all I ask of Coff. He's got great ability, and if he works within the team plan, he stays in the side.
Now, it's fair to say, too, that you tried Brendan Robertson as rover last year, but since Gavin Chaplin retired, you really haven't had a top, high-class rover. Perhaps Tim Cook's coming on, but Jim Wine today's beautifully slotted into that spot.
Well, Jim's got the experience. He's a tradesman as a rover. He's not a pretty player in any way, shape or form, but he's very effective and he works hard, and that's exactly the reason we recruited him.
Looking forward, next week, Prospect Oval, you take on North Adelaide. You won 5 of your last 6 last year. You're looking for 6 out of 6 this year. That's the club target.
Oh, yeah, look, we just need to play well every week, and North Adelaide are a good footy side, and we need to put them under pressure to win next week.
Was your game plan today to bottle up the Eagles, to make sure that they couldn't get their runners running? If it was, you did that beautifully.
Yeah, we've tried to work hard a little bit on our defensive skills this year. Again, we've always been known as a good running side, but I think now we're a little bit better in the closer department of the game as well.
Alan, you've finally broken the hoodoo. You've finally beaten the Eagles, and on their home ground. Congratulations.
Thanks very much, David.
Yes, I'm very happy Alan Stewart. He has broken the hoodoo, and up to now it's only Sturt that have been beaten exclusively by the Eagles. First time that they've broken that at Woodville Oval today. Well, let's just have a look at the scores. They trailed by 18 points in the first quarter, 6 at half-time. They turned it around by 24. They went in 15 up at three-quarter time and managed to finish 37 points ahead of last year's grand finalists.
And there was one difference in the side. His name was Grant Coffey. We heard Alan Stewart talking about him. He kicked 8 goals at full forward. Probably could have had 10 almost in the end, but gee, was the difference in the side. Look at that. He had 8. Stevens had 3 from centre wing, and that's not a bad performance. He kicked 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and 1 in the third, did Scotty Stevens, and then a series of singles. The Eagles, alternatively, could only manage 1 multiple scorer.
And the statistics, well, Central Districts, all Central Districts, and as we saw, the Barmy Army from the Dogs give their players a send-off. They really were all over the Eagles Footy Club, particularly in that second half. And hit-outs, well, Central Districts got on top in that last half. 3-4, the Eagles were in front, but when you have a look at the kicks and handballs, really it was the Central Districts Footy Club, particularly in the kicks division, ran all over the Eagles, and the Eagles today really did not handle the ball whatsoever, and I think that they have to work on that with weeks to come.
Thank you, Michael. And it was an obvious part of the Eagles' downfall today. Their hands were nowhere near as skilled and as quick. It's only March, we know, but Bruce Winter wouldn't be happy with that, given that the Dogs have never beaten them before. David Mackay still with me on the boundary line, and just go back to the hero of today. 8 goals. He kicked 5 against Nord at Elizabeth last week, David. He's got an average of 6.5. He's well on the way to the ton if he can keep control of himself.
I think he can, Neville, but like other seasons, remember, Stephen Trigg, I think, mentioned it during the third quarter commentary. He kicked 13 goals 2 seasons ago against Sturt in the opening round and then really crashed from that point on. The real test of character for him is to go on with it, but the thing I liked about him is that in seasons gone by he's jumped straight up and down like a basketballer. Today, for the first time ever, I've seen him jumping out and leaping into a football like a full forward or like a footballer, and if he can continue that attack on a football, there's nobody with the athleticism at full back to stop him, so he could be a real focal point. And just coming back, I must apologise, I was supposed to have an Eagles interview for you, which is the reason I'm down here, but so disappointed were they that they'd lost this match. There were no interviews and the media were not allowed anywhere near the room.
Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me. Bruce Winter wouldn't be happy with that. They didn't look like the Eagles side. I'm sure they're a better team than they produced today, or maybe they're only as good as the Dogs, David, let them be. I mean, Alan Stewart said they were better close in. It's a tough style of football to play consistently all year, isn't it? At the body.
Well, he's beaten the Eagles at their own game. Remember the big games last year, including the Foundation Cup Grand Final. It was the in-close work by the Eagles and Centrals that was the highlight of the match. It's not a running, flowing game when they're playing each other, but I think Centrals today took the Eagles game and advanced on it a little bit, and the Eagles have fallen away a bit. I mentioned at three-quarter time, the only way the Eagles were going to win this match if they physically intimidated the Central side and pushed them off and belted them off the ball. Well, they didn't even look to get physical at any time in the final term.
Anthony Ingerson looking for some form. He playing on the ball, centre forward, centre half back. He doesn't look that comfortable at centre half forward, but although when he's there, the ball is always on the ground. He's never outmarked. He's always bringing opportunities. He plays like Darren Smith when he's at centre half forward. Bit unobtrusive.
You plucked the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say, Darren Smith, he's an underrated centre-half forward. In fact, a lot of people criticise him, but when you look at the contests underneath the ball, he's always there, and so too is Anthony Ingerson. They just bring the ball to ground. They always bring it forward, mind you, so their runners know where the ball's going to end up, and it gives their running players a terrific advantage, even if they don't mark it.
And David, next week your tip, we've got South and West at Richmond Oval. Who you go for there?
Well, it's a very, very difficult one. I've been and watched the practice match form. South look pretty good. They've got Danny Del Rey at full forward. He's firing. West Adelaide have recruited very, very strongly over the winter. So I think it's really a matter of how their recruits settle down, Rock.
Okay, thanks very much for that, David. We'd like to thank you for your company. Today's game live at Woodville Oval. Last week, of course, a fantastic game at Elizabeth. We're into round 3 next week. Join us at Richmond Oval at 3:45. We'll go through to 5:30 with a roundup of all the football, and we look forward to you joining us then. So from Stephen Trigg, Michael H, David Mackay and myself, it's good night.